And when I got to the front and finally did my business, I said to the guy, the one who was training the trainee, I said, you know, both your ATM machines are ready. He looked at me and went, oh, I didn't know. Really? No one said anything? You didn't think to go? So that was my experience Saturday morning. Look, I often, I complain about that kind of stuff. Sometimes, you go to an ATM machine, and I said, this is the fault of automation. It's not even our fault as human beings. Because when things change and they start working, and working well, we adapt, right? We used to only go to tellers. Now we go to ATM machines for simple stuff because you don't need to go to a teller. But then my problem became you go to an ATM machine and sometimes they get kind of wonky, and instead of taking, 20 seconds to do your transaction, they took 30 and we're upset. It took me almost half a minute to take out $100 out of the bank. That's how we become. Because as more and more conveniences become available, we expect more and more from them. All of a sudden having to deal with a human / trainee became a very, very long experience. I would say difficult because it wasn't difficult once we got it figured out. Because I guess the one thing the trainee fairly soon or fairly early in his career worked out was how to deposit a check. So that was gratifying. But yeah, that's the kind of morning it was. It's kind of like when you go to a fast food place, right? One of the comedians, I think John Pinette, the late great John Pinette, had a bit on this, talking about being in line at McDonald's. And the person in front of you has never been to a McDonald's before, is looking up the menu like it's written in Sanskrit. What's this? What's that? And it takes them 15 minutes to order when all you want is like an apple pie or a Big Mac or whatever it is. Same idea, but at the bank. I was half inclined to walk up to this person and say, in a nice way, excuse me, are you from here? But then I thought, what's that going to achieve? Nothing. Because that might have turned into a conversation. No, I'm not. Why do you ask? I just wondering because it took you so... No, it wouldn't have gone anywhere, so I let it go. But that was Saturday. Banks. Tellers. I remember the days. All right, couple other things going on today, so let me mention this as well. If you missed it, look, all the leaders are on the campaign trail. And yes, we're going to talk politics because at some point, what are we, 2 weeks away now from an election? That's it. September 6th today, September 20th, the election, exactly 2 weeks. So on the campaign trail today, and I think it's fair to say not anyone really saw this coming, but the issue of guns and the banning of assault weapons now has suddenly become a wedge issue in this election, right? This happened after the French debate last week when Justin Trudeau kind of seized on Aaron O'Toole's flip-flop. Remember, he said, well, look at your platform. You're saying you won't repeal, but you will. Now, that's still on the front burner even today. You thought it might have gone away. We'd have moved to something else? Because Aaron O'Toole, a day or whatever it was later, came out and said, look, let me make this perfectly clear. I am not going to change the gun laws. I'm not going to repeal the laws the Liberals passed, even though it says in the Conservative platform apparently that they would. So here's Justin Trudeau today making the most, of course, to milk this issue. Listen to this.
Yesterday, Aaron O'Toole was asked if he had a secret deal with the gun lobby. Yes or no. He wouldn't answer.
Oh.
He was asked which of the assault weapons that we banned would he make legal again. He wouldn't answer that either. Come on.
Okay. Come on. I like when he did. Come on. Meanwhile, one of those issues that usually does come up at election time finally came up today. See if you can find the answer in here. Justin Trudeau's asked about, taxes.
On taxes, in past campaigns, you have promised not to raise taxes on the middle class. I'm wondering if you're going to recommit to not raising tax on middle class again.
What we've seen throughout this pandemic and throughout the past years are Canadians increasingly worried about affordability. The cost of living is rising. Housing is a real challenge. Families are facing increasing pressures, which is why over the past number of years, we focused on making life more affordable for Canadians.
Taxes?
We raised taxes on the wealthiest 1% so we could lower them for the middle class. We delivered hundreds of dollars a month tax-free to millions of families across the country with the Canada Child Benefit.
But taxes?
Measures that lifted over 400,000 kids out of poverty. At the same time as we created 1 million jobs over the first few years of our government,
taxes?
We lifted over 1 million people out of poverty in this country.
Anyone find that answer in there on taxes? And nothing? Okay. So it looks like Aaron O'Toole on guns and Justin Trudeau on taxes. but more on that, I guess. We have 2 debates coming up this week, right? One French, one English, and we'll see what happens after that. And which leads to my first question, by the way, today, which I'll give you in just a sec when we come back. Raji, I'll kind of set this up for you now. So, yes, guns, and again, I think it's fair to say, out of nowhere, became an issue in this campaign. They might have come up at one point, but obviously because of Aaron O'Toole's flip-flop, they've now become an issue. Taxes, had no answer for that. So here we are, Canadians, right? 2 weeks left to go until voting day. Simple question to you today on this Labor Day. You have time to think about it. Have you made up your mind who you'll be voting for? And how much of what you've heard from the leaders during the campaign so far has actually factored into your final decision? Or if you haven't made up your mind yet, what are you waiting to hear before making up your mind? Or maybe you're so disillusioned at this point from what you have heard that you have no idea who to vote for, and maybe you won't even go vote because you don't know who to vote for. Where are you on this? Have you made up your mind? If you haven't, what are you waiting to hear? Or are you that disillusioned that you don't even care because you feel it won't make a difference one way or the other? 790-0800. You can text me at 514-800. Let me know what you think. We'll get to you right after we get to traffic from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center and Lauren Glazer. Lauren?
Afternoon, Aaron. We are seeing some volume off and on for southbound Laurentian, starting St. Severin to Prévost, and again between St. Jerome and Blainville, off and on delays as well. On the westbound side of the Met now, it starts lackady out to the DeCarry interchange. Westbound side of the 10 delays as well between the 223 and Autoroute 10 for the westbound Jean Lesage. You're losing time as well. St. Hyacinth into Autoroute 30. The BMW Invitational Sales event is on now through September 30th. Enjoy rate reductions up to 1% or credits up to $5,000 on select new in-stock BMW models. Let us know what you see on the roads. Call in your tips to star 800. Your next report at 2:30.
All right, thank you, Lauren. So let me just check here if we got a traffic tag. No, we don't. Okay, good. So we're going to get to the phones. Want to get to your text messages as well. And by the way, I told that story about going to the bank. So for all those people who are texting going, do you not know that you can deposit checks on your banking app on your phone? Yeah, I do, and I do that on a regular basis. But again, it's not a perfect system. The check I tried to deposit, I don't know, maybe the dollar amount wasn't marked the right way, and it said, sorry, can't accept your deposit, which is why I ended up at the bank. Those machines, they're not working out that well, aren't they? All right, what are you doing? Who are you voting for? Let me know. Have you made up your mind? 790-0800. Get to your calls next.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. Brought to you by Dormez-vous. Mix and match at Dormez-vous is back. So whatever your sleep style, our sleep experts will match you to the sleep essentials you need. We're fully stocked and ready for quick delivery.
The women of Lubavitch wish you a very blessed Rosh Hashanah and New Year. The Jewish New Year 5782 begins this evening with candlelighting by women and girls from age 3 and up. Candlelighting time this evening is at 7:04 p.m. Tomorrow night, candles may not be lit before 8:05 p.m. and only from an existing flame. Please consult your prayer book for the blessings on the candles and the special Rosh Hashanah foods. If you have not yet begun this beautiful mitzvah of lighting candles, what can be more appropriate than at the new year? Contact your local synagogue or Chabad center for exact time and location of the shofar blowing. More than ever, we all need light and blessings. Let's pray for true health and peace in our homes, in Israel, and in the world. For more information, visit FridayLight.org. The women of Lubavitch wish you a Shana Tova Umetuka.
How to live safely in a senior's residence during these COVID times. Join Dr. Christopher Labos at Residence L'Alto to get the facts straight. Wednesday, September 15th from 7:30 to 9 p.m. To reserve, call 438-377-2335.
Joe Fresh has everything you need to check off your back-to-school shopping list. Tees, sweaters, jackets, jeans, running shoes, activewear, and more. Plus, you'll save 25% on regular price children's apparel in stores and on joefresh.com until September 6th.
How you work, where you work, even what you wear to work. You've been giving everything a second look. So why not take a second look at how you bank? Switch to the Scotiabank Ultimate Package and earn a $350 welcome bonus. Get a boost to your savings and an annual credit card fee waiver on select credit cards. The Ultimate Package. It's the ultimate in banking. Conditions apply. Visit scotiabank.com/ultimate350. Scotiabank.
New spicy chicken McNuggets have arrived at McDonald's. So McNuggets fans, will you walk on the spicy side? Surprise your senses with a hint of heat or remain rooted in your iconic order? Will you dive in deeper with spicy buffalo sauce, or dare to dip in at all? Did you carefully consider these questions, or just stop listening? Because spicy chicken McNuggets was all you needed to hear. Are you a spicy McNuggets person? Only one way to find out. For a limited time only at participating McDonald's restaurants in Canada.
Hi, it's Tony Chapman, and a big thank you to RBC for sponsoring Chatter That Matters. Speaking of matters, I have a question for you. You're checking on your family, your health, even your car. When was the last time you did a check-in on your finances? Well, RBC Check-In is a virtual experience with no obligation. I got answers to all of my money questions, big and small, and I now have a plan for my future. Book a check-in at rbc.com/check-in.
Warmer colors, cooler temperatures, the season is just getting started. And Rona has everything you need to keep your projects going for less during our handy long weekend event. Like adding a fresh touch of color to your home with 1-gallon cans of Olympic Summit Stain and Sealant for just $46.99. That's $15 off. And preventing freeze damage to your drains with 3.78 liters of plumbing antifreeze for just $3.99. Shop now in-store or online. Conditions apply. Fall done right with Rona.
It's been so busy at Bicycles MCW, they're thinking of putting in a revolving door. But bicycles tend to get stuck in those. Bring yours in for a tune-up or repairs, and the pros will make sure you're road ready. Sherbrooke at Hampton and NDG. BicyclesMCW.com.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
All right, asking the question today, 2 weeks left to go before we head to the polls. How much from what you've heard of the leaders so far during the campaign has actually factored into your final decision? Enough that you've made your mind up who you're going to vote for? I know they say a lot of people already made their minds up before we even got going, but is that you? And if you haven't made up your mind, what is it you're waiting to hear before you make up your mind? Or, as I'm seeing from some texts here, I said, are you too disillusioned or already so disillusioned from what you have heard that it doesn't make a difference? You don't care. You're not going to vote. You're going to spoil your ballot. I've heard that from people as well. 790-0800, 514-800 for your text, including this one that says, it's a tough one for English Quebecers. Everybody seems to be turning their backs on us. That, of course, reference to Bill 96, even a Bill 21, of course, all the political parties, basically hands off. That's the message now, by the way. You know, I'm cynical enough to believe that once whoever gets into power is in power, that may change. But for now, it's kind of like, why upset Quebecers? Why say we're against this or against that? Just say, yeah, Quebec can do what they want. And then when the election comes and they win, they change their position, of course, because they were already in power. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I think. Another one that says, I'm so disappointed with all the so-called, in quotes, leaders, that for the first time in my life, I'm going to spoil my vote. That's from Jim. What about you? 790-0800. Your mind made up? What are you going to do? What are you waiting to hear? Monica's on line one. Monica, what do you think?
Yes, good afternoon, Aaron.
Hi.
My decision will be made when the candidates will take the time to do something regarding the seniors. The annual increase of 2021 was 1.3. So I would appreciate if they would help the seniors.
Yeah, I think I've heard from both the Conservatives and probably the NDP as well. And the Liberals, you know, there's that $500 extra check. And I think Trudeau said he would now take the age down from 70 to 65, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe in the Conservative platform, there's an increase for seniors as well. But double check, and I'm sure that's one of the issues that is going to come up during the debate. Monica, thank you for the call. Michael's on line two. Michael, what do you think?
Happy New Year, Aaron,
Same
and
to
your
you,
family,
Michael.
and your gal Val. I'd like to hear the leaders debate the following. Let's start by getting the guns stored in homes. Simply request homeowners to voluntarily give up these guns. They would call a police hotline who would come with a trailer to crush and destroy the guns on the spot, take down the model and serial number so it's removed from service without any proof of purchase or ownership, which most people do not have. And on the trailer is a bilingual message. Another great Canadian gives up their guns for the benefit of Canadians, and they will be honored with Canada's special medal to wear with pride. It can be done. We can get a lot of guns off the market. Otherwise, conjugal violence and harassment of one spouse to the other with a gun in the house, or a family member may come in late at night and get shot, or the guns are stolen, or a family member goes on a mental duress using the gun outside the home. So let's serve notice on the bad guys and the gang members that we are starting to get the guns.
So, Michael, based on what you've just described with respect to the gun issue, which party has the best platform that you'd be voting for?
Oh, man. I so wanted to vote for Trudeau and Coderre because they're both on the same team from Montreal. And there are so many good things about the Conservatives that I still haven't made up my mind, but there's a lot of great questions that could be answered, including which party wants to underwrite the public challenges to Bill 96.
Okay.
There's so much questions out there.
Michael, thank you for the call. Let me go to, I think this is Juliana. Is that right, Juliana?
Yeah, that's me. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. As far as the election goes, I'm 89 years old. I've been living for a long time, and I've been listening to the election. I have one word to say to the government. Why can those two parties get together? Have they never heard of united we stand, divided we fall? And as far as taxes go, money talks and the dog barks. Because if you have money, you don't need any language at all. And I'm the one that's barking at the moment.
Thank you for, I've never heard that. I heard one I can't repeat on the air, that money talks and the dog barks. Wow. Thank you for that very much, Julianne. Appreciate that. Okay. 89 years old. That's what's on his mind. Mark, what do you think? What's a story for you? Have you already decided who you're going to vote for?
Hi.
What's the deal?
Yeah, hi. I just came into the room and heard about the story about the gun. They said one time, I think it was on W5 a long time ago, that 95% of the people who owns guns at home to protect themselves from the burglars mostly get shot themselves. So it doesn't really worth having the guns at home to protect yourselves.
Okay, that's not sort of what I was asking, but you...
No, but you're talking about guns.
Yeah, but I would make the point as well, and this always comes up during the debate. Yeah. For people who live out west, for example, people who hunt, people who live on farms, they have guns for a reason, right? It's because they hunt, and they feel that, we have to be careful with what guns we decide to ban. I think that's part of the argument here. I don't want to call them the gun lobby, but those people have, they don't live in the city. They don't necessarily have them for protection. If they do, they're not just for protection from, criminals, but from animals and bears and God knows what else. So what do you tell those people?
Pardon me?
What do you say to those people? You want to take their guns away?
No, because in case you get an angry animal like a bear who's in the area, and if you don't have a gun to protect from the bear, which is what those people to some degree are saying. Mark, thank you for the call. Let me know what you think. So already 2 weeks to go before we go to the polls, exactly as of today. Have you made up your mind who you'll vote for? Has anything you've heard on the campaign so far, on the campaign trail, changed the way you're going to vote, or basically solidified perhaps who you were going to vote for, or what are you still waiting to hear before you make up your mind? 790-0800, text at 514-800. More of those when we come back.
Good afternoon. I'm Nicole Perrena with your CTV News Update. Here's what's making news at 2:30. Labor unions and community organizations are marking this Labor Day with a demonstration in Parc La Fontaine. They're specifically taking aim at an occupational health and safety reform introduced by Quebec's Labor and Employment Minister. They say it rolls back a lot of the progress achieved on prevention plans. A 36-year-old man who's suspected of kidnapping his son Tuesday triggered an Amber Alert. He appeared in court for the first time today. He's facing at least one gun-related charge at this point. Police are detaining him until his case goes to trial on October 5th. And 11 more people are in hospital with COVID-19 in the province today, bringing the total number of hospitalizations to 160. And 530 more people tested positive, which is below the average, but numbers after the weekend do tend to be lower. For the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Lauren Glazer.
Off and on volume westbound 40 now from ahead of the 131 rolling into Repentigny for the westbound side of the Jean Lesage. Delays there from ahead of the 133 to almost on Route 30. Westbound 10 as well, volume from the 133 out to on Route 35 for the westbound side of the Met. Delays 2 between Lackady and the DeCarry interchange. Delays too for Saint Laurentian now, starting St. Severin to Prévost, and again between St. Jerome and Blainville. There's a better way to paint. Buy 1 gallon of select interior Dulux paint and get one free. Offer ends September 27th, only at your local Dulux paint store. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 2:45.
Your Dormivue Weather Center forecasts showers today with the risk of a severe thunderstorm, winds gusting to 40 kilometers an hour this afternoon, a high of 21 and a humidex of 25. Tomorrow, mainly sunny with a high of 23 and showers for Wednesday with a high of 27. It's 17 right now downtown. Your next CTV News update is at 3 o'clock.
This newscast brought to you by Supermarché Akavan, Iranian, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern grocery. Open 8 to 4 Monday to Saturday with 2 locations to serve you. Visit akavanfood.com.
When you bundle your insurance with La Capitale, Derek and Liam, you can save an average of $425.
Whoa.
Your house, ATV, plus chalet.
$425.
Could even be more than $425.
Now you're talking.
Call 1-888-LA Capitale and save.
Let's get together. Come celebrate live music and art this autumn at Bell Presents Osheaga Get Together in collaboration with Coors Light with headliners Charlotte Cardin, Jesse Reyes, and Half Moon Run at the beautiful Parc Jean Drapeau, October 1st to 3rd, 2021. Tickets are on sale now at Osheaga.com. Don't miss out. Capacity is limited.
During the past year, we've been living in the present and making decisions day by day. Now is the time to stop, take a deep breath, and start to plan ahead in order to provide peace of mind to our family and loved ones. At Mount Royal Commemorative Services, we can help. Our 3 locations serve the city, from the Belvedere Cemetery and Funeral Complex in the west to the Cimetière et Complexe Funéraire des Trambes in the east, and of course the historic Mount Royal Cemetery and Funeral Complex in the heart of the city. Online at mountroyalsem.com.
Sam's excited to see his favorite band play live. He's thought about it all week. He bought his ticket. He wore his band t-shirt. He went to the concert venue. He wasn't allowed inside the concert venue. He put away his band t-shirt. He threw away his ticket. And he thought about it all week.
Don't wait until it hits you. Get vaccinated. A vaccination passport is now required to enter certain public spaces. A message from the Gouvernement du Québec.
If you need a new mattress, there's no better place and no better time than now during Medla Bonheur's end of summer mattress sale with savings of up to $700 on all Beauty Rest and Z-Bed mattresses. Visit medlabonheur.ca for details.
Great tattoos.
Thanks. They're all Volksfest related.
Volksfest?
It's Volkswagen's big annual event. This tattoo says Volksfest 2009. Met my wife there. And this one, Volksfest 2021.
Why?
Because you can lease a German-engineered Tiguan or Jetta from 0.99%, plus get a winter tire credit or up to 3 years prepaid maintenance. That's why.
So you work there?
No, just a really big fan. Oh, this one says offer ends September 30th. Visit VW.ca.
Volkswagen.
Renavco is celebrating 20 years in business. Thanks to your trust and their expertise, they are Montreal's leader in home renovation and restoration and have been for 20 years. Renavco.com.
Yup, it's a new season of the NFL on TSN and CTV. And this year, it's 18 weeks of more football than ever. You gotta be kidding me! NFL Kickoff. It all begins Thursday, September 9th at 7 on TSN and CTV2.
Join the conversation all afternoon with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. This is Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
All right, 2 weeks to go, then we go to the polls. I'm asking you if you already made your mind up. You know, there's some people believe that no one, or that many people perhaps don't make their mind up until the debates. And other people think, well, maybe you go to the ballot box and that's when you actually make your mind up while you're standing there with that pencil in your hand trying to decide who you're finally going to vote for. So I'm asking you, from what you've heard so far, 2 weeks left to go, have you already made up your mind? And if you haven't, what's it going to take for you? What do you have to hear from these federal party leaders for you to say, okay, I like that, that's where I'm going to vote? Or are you already disillusioned enough, as apparently quite a few of you are from the text I'm reading, that you're either going to spoil your ballot or not vote at all? Which seems kind of a shame and the wrong way to get things done, because that doesn't really achieve anything. But you tell me. 790-0800, 514-800 for your text. This one says, yes, my mind was made up to vote for Trudeau from before the beginning of the election. It's better to go with the devil you know. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people probably buy into that as well. This one says, I'm down to 2 choices on who to vote for. I'll wait till the 2 remaining debates this week are over and do my own research into each respective party's platform, which is great because, if we would all do that, that would actually make sure that we knew what the issues were and where parties stood on them. I wonder how many Canadians in fact do. This one says, voting Liberal while holding my nose because the Conservatives will set the country back for years and years. Another that says, Jagmeet Singh and the NDP all the way, although the text says the NDB all the way. Nobody else is discussing banks, housing, cell phone bills, and everything that robs money from lower to middle classes. I believe all the leaders are discussing all those things. Banks, housing, they're all talking about them, not just the NDP. Well, maybe keep that in mind. Jimmy's on the line, 790-0800. Jimmy, what's it going to take for you, or have you already made your mind up?
Well, my mind was made. Well, I wouldn't say made up. If there was a candidate from the Rhino Party in my riding, I know exactly who I'd be voting for. But I'll probably get my hand twisted into voting for the Tory.
So I'm sensing the disillusionment in that decision.
Oh yeah. Like I want. Like one of the things is I want Trudeau out. Like that guy has done so many things over the past 6 years. Like. 2015, I was, almost firmly in Team Red, and now I'm like, I just want the guy out. He's done too much damage to the country.
Okay.
But I also don't like the leadership of the Conservatives, but, it's all...
Okay, well, let me see. I find that an interesting sort of idea. You mentioned Trudeau when it comes to the Liberals, and you don't like him, but then you said the Conservatives in general you don't like. But what about Erin O'Toole? If we're going to compare leader to leader, what bothers you about him that you don't like or do like?
I don't know, just the way that he conducted his leadership campaign back last year. A few things he did rub me the wrong way. But otherwise, like, he's been better. I'll admit that. But, just Trudeau has done a few things that really, really made me angry.
Okay.
And it's just accumulation of a lot of stuff. Like, it's just, he's not a person you can trust. He doesn't make any sort of decisions based on evidence. It's all optics and emotion with no substance with Trudeau.
Yeah, you sound to me like a guy who made up your mind on Justin Trudeau quite a while ago.
Yeah. The final nail in the coffin was last year, I think.
Okay.
But
was it the Wee scandal that took you over the edge? What was it?
Yeah, the Wee scandal, the gun stuff, the SNC Lavalin, the stuff with the Aga Khan, the way that he purged the party of basically anybody with like a lick of sense. From the Chrétien and the Martin era, like all this other stuff. Okay, fair enough. Hey, Jimmy, thank you so much. I appreciate you calling in. All right. Okay, what do you think? 790-0800. You heard how he feels. 790-0800, 514-800 for your text. This text that says, I'm from a Liberal family and will always vote Liberal, but it'll be interesting to see if Erin O'Toole's flip-flop will benefit the Liberals or the NDP. And the bigger question is, what will happen in Quebec? Will the Bloc Québécois keep seats? And if not, will it be to the Liberals or in the Liberals' favor? That's from Stuart. Speaking of the Bloc, and typically they don't come into the conversation really when we talk about federal party leaders because they're really a provincial party that happens to be represented in the House of Commons. But there was an interesting, I'm going to mention this now because she's going to join us just after 3 o'clock. There was an interesting, I don't even would call it a Twitter thread, if you will, over the weekend. Leslie Chesterman asked the question, quite innocently, I thought. There was a picture of Yves-François Blanchet of the Bloc, kind of posing like he was doing an ad for Harry Rosen, like for a fashion magazine, leg spread, hand. That's kind of what you might have expected to see, just an odd pose, and asked the question, like, who stands like this? And I believe she mentioned something about us. I kind of miss these days of, Brian Mulrooney's Gucci loafers, right? Very different from like an Yves-François Blanchet. And the hate spewed on Twitter towards her, just incredible, to the point where she eventually took it down because she didn't want to deal with it anymore. Completely understand that. She's going to join us just after 3 o'clock to explain that and talk about a couple other things as well. But anyway, to get back to the calls, want to know, have you made your mind up? Are you like that last caller, like Jimmy, so fed up over the years, I guess, with what Justin Trudeau has done that your mind is made up just based on that? Or are you waiting to hear more? Let's go to Bonnie on line 2. Bonnie, what about you?
Hi. Yeah, my mind's pretty much made up for Liberal. I actually was looking at conservative, until he started flip-flopping, depending on who he was talking to. He's anti-gun control. Now he's going to keep everything in place. He was, not privatized healthcare. Now he won't commit to anything. It's like you don't know what you're going to get. At least with Trudeau, you know what you're going to get. And as long as the eyes are on him, I think he will be more careful.
Do you think that, and I completely understand what you're saying, you pointed out things that have happened during the campaign, a couple of, missteps if you want, like self-inflicted wounds for the Conservatives. Do you think that based on what you just said now, it's too late for them to recover?
For the Conservatives to recover?
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially with the abortion question coming out. I mean, you just don't fool around with that, right? And he did, and he really hasn't given a stance on it.
Well, he has said, he said on his own that he, of course, supports, pro-choice, but he's not saying that. He's saying his members of his own political party will be able to vote any way they want. That's not what, that's what you're upset with?
Well, that's exactly it.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it, who runs the party?
Right.
It's not him, it's his Conservative members. So he might be one thing, but the party is another. So, they've been pretty vocal about the whole issue there and the gun control. So I just think it's going to be dangerous if he gets into power.
Bonnie, I thank you for the call, 790-0800. By the way, there seems to be this prevailing notion now, at least until we see a new poll, that this election is no longer about the Liberals wanting or hoping to get a majority. It's about them hoping to maintain their minority government. Because the last poll, this is going back towards the end of last week, had the Conservatives with a fair lead, like a little over 4%, I think it was then. And as I said, things change. If there's a new poll and things have tightened up, you've got to wonder if this gun control issue is one of the things that might tighten this up. Is it a matter then simply of maintaining their minority and no longer thinking about a majority? Don't know, but that'll be an interesting question to ponder then. This text here that says this is a no-brainer. The O'Toole Conservatives will downplay the pandemic. They soft pedal on climate change. They give tax cuts to the rich and pander to the anti-vaxxers, gun owners, and oil pushers. Signed, Justin Trudeau. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Liberals are the only real choice. The Conservatives have become too much like their American counterparts, meaning, I guess, the Republican Party. Okay. And this one that says, unfortunately, there's nobody to vote for. They've all thrown us under the bus. Trudeau is useless. O'Toole is dangerous. Singh is likable but clueless. Can I just put Aaron Rand on my ballot for the Common Sense Party? Thank you, Gray. That's very nice of you. Yes, please. No, don't. No, get out there and vote. Exercise your democratic right. Decide who you want to vote for, but go out there and vote. Heather's on the line. Heather, what are you going to do, or have you already made your mind up?
Hi, I made my mind up a long time ago about Justin Trudeau because I don't think any party could have done any better during this pandemic. However, I can't vote because the Elections Canada rules are that the polling people don't have to be vaccinated and the people that are coming to vote don't have to be vaccinated, and I don't know if they have to wear a mask. And guess what? The polling station is in my seniors apartment building. It's a private apartment building, and there's a common area, and they're using it as a polling station. So
you're concerned, obviously, with that.
Well,
sure, understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I won't be voting because of that, because I don't want to be amongst hundreds of people that are
but you have the option to mail in your vote.
Yes, I understand that, but I had planned to vote personally, so I don't think it's in good time. I may have missed the...
No, you have roughly another, I believe it's September 14th or 12th, because I just sent mine back a few days ago. You still have time if you want to vote.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think Trudeau needs me.
Heather, thank you for the call. All right,
welcome.
Look, I don't know. I don't know that there's a consensus here. I heard a lot of people saying they're angry with Justin Trudeau, but I've heard just as many perhaps saying they don't trust or they don't believe, after the flip-flop in Aaron O'Toole. This is going to be a very interesting election. It kind of makes you wonder, the next two debates, the next one in French and the next one in English, will that be what basically most people can look at and go, okay, based on that, I've decided how I'm going to vote? Because for now, I think there are a lot of people out there. I mean, unless you were a diehard or lifetime liberal or a lifetime conservative, no, there's some things in there that you just can't square right now and haven't made up your mind. We shall see. Thank you for the calls. Appreciate your texts as well. Let's head out to traffic. CJAD 800 Traffic Center as the sun comes out now. I thought we were getting a hailstorm or rainstorm. Let's find out what's going on the roads on this Monday afternoon. Lauren Glazer. Lauren?
Aaron, really not too bad of a drive this afternoon. For southbound Laurentian, we do have some off and on volume, St. Severn to Prévost, and again between St. Jerome and Blainville. Off and on delays as well on the westbound side of the Met, starting Lackady now out to Carey. Eastbound side of the Tecan, volume from Morgan out to a problem. That's ahead of Chemin Ste. Marie. For the westbound 10, delays between the 223 and Autoroute 35, as well as some volume for the westbound Jean Lesage between the 133 and the 229. The BMW Invitational Sales event is on now through September 30th. Enjoy rate reductions up to 1% or credits up to $5,000 on select new in-stock BMW models. Let us know what you see on the roads. Call in your tips to star 800. Your next report at 3 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Look, I want to just get you caught up on one other thing here based on the campaign trail today. I thought this might be interesting. If you've been paying any attention at all, you know that there have been protesters showing up, I don't know, call them mobs if you will, at a lot of Justin Trudeau's campaign stops. And it's been getting beyond nasty. It's kind of disgusting, including one today. That F word in Trudeau's name, there was been a flag that had that on last week. And I think most Canadians, I think it's fair to say, don't understand why this is going on. Yes, there are people out there who don't agree with his vaccine policies, but to be standing out in front of children who are brought to these rallies by parents, grandparents, whatever, and yelling expletives at at Justin Trudeau, who does that? That's like U.S. style politics. And look, I said this last week, it's looking like that's what's going to be happening. That is what's happening here right now. They're bringing Trump era campaigning politics, people out there who just don't care, swearing at, the prime minister. So he was asked about that today and, whether, first of all, what he thinks about it, and second of all, whether it's even fair to the people who are out there supporting him to have to endure this. Those people aren't wearing masks. There's lots of them too. They're yelling and screaming. Here's what he said.
There is a small fringe element in this country that is angry, that doesn't believe in science, that is lashing out with racist, misogynistic attacks. But Canadians, the vast majority of Canadians, are not represented by them. And I know will not allow those voices, those protesters I don't even want to call them protesters, those anti-vaxxer mobs to dictate how this country gets through this pandemic. They don't get to dictate policy of this government.
Okay. Justin Trudeau from earlier today, I believe, out in Victoria, BC. We're going to take our break. When we come back, Robin is off today, but I have a story for you, kind of a what's on story. If you're an Elvis Presley fan, stick around. That's next.
iHeartRadio is the #1 streaming app for radio, podcasts, news, and music.
All my friends get connected.
Your favorite radio stations, podcasts from the world's greatest storytellers, playlists for any mood, artist radio, and so much more. Stay connected to your community and your world.
Keep connected.
Keep connected.
Connected all the time.
iHeartRadio.
A fun way to connect.
Download the free app today.
Download it now.
iHeartRadio.
What's for dinner? With good food you'll never have to ask. Choose from 30 ready-to-cook recipes each week. Make goodfood.ca/GF10. Conditions apply.
The COVID-19 pandemic has everyone feeling isolated and can cause grave anxiety. Do you find yourself turning to drugs or alcohol to cope? Portage can help you find freedom from addiction, free of charge. We've been helping adolescents and adults in Montreal and across the province for more than 45 years. You don't have to do this alone. Call 1-844-939-0202 or visit our website at portage.ca.
This is for all the control seekers, the commitment phobes, and the take no nonsense, talk as much as they want to Canadians want an affordable phone plan that lets you call the shots. With Chatter Mobile, you only pay flat monthly fees, and you never sign on a dotted line. So talk, text, and browse to your heart's desire. Because with Chatter Mobile, you commit to nothing but total control. Visit us online and find a store near you. Chatter Mobile. Now you make the call.
This Rosh Hashanah, dip into sweetness and unite for a new year of hope and prosperity. Volunteer with Matta Community Center for boxing and delivery or help with sponsorship of Rosh Hashanah meals and baskets so that everyone can celebrate with holiday essentials free of charge. To volunteer or donate, please visit mattacenter.com. That's MADACENTER.com. Wishing you a Shana Tova. We are all a caring family. This ad was sponsored by IGS Security.
Smile Cookie Week is coming to Tim Hortons. Every time you buy a cookie, 100% of proceeds go towards local charities and community groups, like food banks and hospitals. Grab one from September 13th to the 19th and help spread smiles across your community at participating restaurants in Canada for a limited time.
The Montreal Alouettes are back at home September 18th for a 7 p.m. kickoff against the BC Lions, presented by Tim Hortons. Come cheer on your Alouettes along with Team Canada athletes in attendance. Tickets from $26 plus tax at MontrealAlouettes.com.
Hey, it's Bianca Andrescu. When I'm not on the tennis court, I love spending time with my dog Coco. But every year, there are over 100,000 dogs and cats in Canadian animal shelters who haven't found the joy of a forever home yet. Here's how you can help them.
Right now, when you buy any combination of Royale tissue products totaling $20, you'll get a $5 Royale coupon, and Royale will donate $5 to participating animal shelters.
Together, we can help find a home for every pet.
Full details at royale.ca/pets.
Life is better framed.
Hi, we're Tanya and Matt, owners of Le Frame Shop.
And today we'd like to talk to you about framing your memorabilia.
I think what Matt is trying to say is that custom framing can create one-of-a-kind gifts that are timeless and deeply meaningful. So even though some of us may not be great at saying it, Le Frame Shop are the experts when it comes to framing your
memorabilia.
At Le Frame Shop, we help you frame the stuff you love and love the stuff you frame. So come by one of our shops and find out why we say life is better framed.
If you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
You tell them, Jan. That's why from now on, you're in charge of your life, your career, and just about everything else.
What? Why?
A new season of Jan starts Monday, September 27th, only on CTV.
What's on tonight is brought to you by the Ritz-Carlton Montreal, voted Canada's top luxury hotel by the readers of Travel and Leisure. Exceptional service and a commitment to excellence. The Ritz-Carlton Montreal.
All right. As I said, Robin is off today, taking the Labor Day holiday. She'll be back tomorrow. I did want to mention, speaking of the Ritz, by the way, and I mentioned this last week, I thought this was a great idea. They have opened a COVID testing center on the third floor in the hotel's business area. And it's not open just to hotel guests. Anybody, if you happen to be downtown, and I know for some people are like, where do I go to get tested? I'm going wherever. Well, now you can go there. It's up on the third floor. You will need an appointment. But it is in the Ritz downtown, up on the third floor in the business center. So just thought I'd mention that. All right. So I saw a story, I guess this was Thursday or Friday. Elvis Presley's jumpsuit and cape, which he wore at concerts at Madison Square Garden back, I guess this was in 1972, went up for auction. And when I first saw this story, I'm like, 1972? That's 50 years ago. Who's been sitting on this for 50 years? But regardless, yes, it went up for auction, his jumpsuit and cape. It sold for $1,012,500 US over the weekend. Elvis Presley's jumpsuit and cape. And it's interesting, the auction house that sold it called it a world record price, but they did not note what previous world record it beat. So I'm thinking, well, who else wore a jumpsuit? And I'm kind of at a loss. I think Prince may have worn one at some time, like a purple jumpsuit. Maybe that's the next big item to come up for auction. But there you go, $1 million for Elvis's jumpsuit. And I thought, okay, a lot of money. But if you didn't get that one, there is a chance you can get this next item that's up for auction. Leland's, big auction house in the U.S., is offering up a pair of, Brian, this might be interesting for you, a pair of Michael Jordan's used boxer shorts. Interested?
Nope.
And they're described, and I'm quoting, as about as close to greatness as one can get, unquote. They're compression shorts, and they show signs of definite use, with loose threads along the seams, and were regularly worn by Jordan, whose name is on the tag. It's like when mom sent you to camp and sewed your name in your underwear. Same idea for Michael Jordan shorts. His name's on them. And you'll be happy to know, if you're interested in bidding on this, there is also a dry cleaning tag inside suggesting the shorts have been washed or dry cleaned. And again, I thought, who had these shorts up for? Where did these come from? Michael Jordan didn't put them up. Turns out his former security guard, keyword former, John Wozniak, who apparently also has a bunch of other items personally worn by Jordan, including athletic shirts, dress shirts, ties, belts, and jackets. He has those as well. I guess that's why he's former security agent to Michael Jordan. Surprisingly or not, now this could save you money if you're a big Michael Jordan fan, and like I said, you got shut out of the Elvis auction for his cape, and that was just out of your price range at $1 million. The current top price for this most sought after pair of underwear, $605. So there's $1 million in your pocket right off the top. Now, I don't know what this is going to sell for, if it's already sold for, but that's what it's getting right now. $605 for a pair of used Michael Jordan boxer shorts. I would tell you where to go bid, but I don't know. But if it's really important for you, I'll try to find out. Even for $600, Brian, you're still not a buyer of Michael Jordan's boxer? Really?
Not having. Do you know who John Wozniak is?
No, I know Steve Wozniak's probably the guy who was the founder, along with Steve Jobs, of Apple. Is he related to him?
No, you watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
You know the guy that was gambling with Michael Jordan, throwing coins at the wall?
Yes.
That's Wozniak.
Oh.
That's him with the crazy hair and everything.
Right. So he managed to get Michael's shirts and ties and belts and everything else. Say, hey, Micah, can I? Okay.
Yeah.
And now he's selling. I wonder how Michael Jordan feels about this, by the way. I wonder if anybody even asked him, hey, dude, we're selling your boxer shorts. Are you okay with that?
You think he cares?
I don't know. It's just kind of embarrassing, I think, at the end of the day. All right. There you go. Two things. Well, you couldn't get the Elvis Presley cape, but now possibly you can get the Michael Jordan shorts. And did want to mention one last thing in terms of entertainment value. I talked about this last week. You heard about ABBA by now, right? ABBA coming back 40 years later, reuniting for a digital concert. Now, I thought when I first read the story, it meant like one of those hologram concerts, right? Like the Whitney Houston one that they've already done. They've done a couple of those, right? No. This one is different in the sense that they have apparently gone to the current members of ABBA, all four of them, put all those sensors on them, had them go through their moves, so it's kind of like live. They actually did this, but their faces will be the faces they had 40 years ago when you remember them as ABBA. And the concert tickets, this is happening in London, you're actually going to a live concert. Apparently, it's going to have like a 2-week minimum run, unless they keep selling tickets, in which case I guess they can extend the run. So how weird is that going to be to go to what's being billed as a live digital concert? They're not there. It's just their avatars, but with their moves performing songs. And I bet you they sell that. But there you go. Their album, by the way, their brand new album is coming out, I believe, in November. So if you're a big ABBA fan, something to look forward to there. All right. We're going to take our break for news. Then when we come back, Leslie Chesterman, you know her, former restaurant critic at the Montreal Gazette, who, by the way, published a recipe book which has done extremely well in French. It's now going to come out in English. She'll talk about that. But we'll start by talking about what happened when she just innocently commented about Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet over the weekend and how Twitter lost its mind. That's next.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. Brought to you by Dormez-vous. Mix and match at Dormez-vous is back. So whatever your sleep style, our sleep experts will match you to the sleep essentials you need. We're fully stocked and ready for quick delivery.
The federal election is on Monday, September 20th. You can vote early. Advance polls will be open September 10th to 13th. If you prefer, you can apply to vote by mail, or you can vote at any Elections Canada office before Tuesday, September 14th, 6 p.m. Check your voter information card for all the ways you can vote.
For the official information on voting and our health and safety measures, visit elections.ca or call 1-800-463-6868. It's our vote.
Hey everyone, now that it's August, it's time to shift summer fun into overdrive, and the Hyundai Factory Authorized Clear Out event is the perfect way to do just that. Get 0% lease or finance rates on select models that'll help you squeeze every last drop out of summer. Take a road trip, visit family, go hiking. Our entire lineup has all the features you want, so every second on the road will be a blast. But hurry, once our 2021 models are gone, they're gone for good. Conditions apply. Visit HyundaiCanada.com or your dealer for details.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, an iHeart radio station.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock. I'm Nicole Pirano with your CTV News update. That severe thunderstorm watch is still in effect. It's currently 17 degrees. More weather details in minutes. Right now, here's what's making news. Federal party leaders are making Labour promises this Labour Day Monday. UK Prime Minister taking heat over his handling of Afghanistan evacuations. And Canada's borders opening up to fully vaccinated international tourists. With the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Lauren Glazer.
We're seeing slowdowns for the eastbound side of the T-Can starting after Ancien-Baton now, running out to a problem. That's after Morgan. Westbound side of the Met delays too between Rockland and the DeCarry interchange for southbound Laurentian. You're losing time off and on now. Piedmont into Blainville for the westbound 10 delays as well between the 133 and Auto Route 10 and again through Auto Route 30. Connect your Mazda CX-5 from virtually anywhere with 2 years of free Mazda connected services, including remote start and a $500 Mazda bonus. Details at Mazda.ca. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 3:15.
In the news, with 2 weeks to go until Election Day, federal party leaders are making their Labor Day pitches to Canadians. Justin Trudeau is promising that a re-elected Liberal government will expand the hiring and workers' support programs his government introduced during the pandemic.
We'll extend the Canada Recovery Hiring Program, which makes it easier not just to hire people, but to boost wages to address the labor shortage some sectors are facing. To help Canadian industries like steel thrive for years to come, we'll keep investing to grow business in competitive and greener ways.
Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole says he will increase benefits for low-wage workers by doubling the Canada Workers' Benefit. And NDP's Jagmeet Singh says he plans to introduce 10 paid sick days for all federally regulated workers and to raise the federal minimum wage to $20 per hour. And the promise to make benefits easier to access. And Yves-François Blanchette is promising to make easier access to self-employed workers, as well as providing adequate support for young mothers who may be unemployed after parental leave. The province is reporting 530 new cases of COVID-19 today and no new deaths. Health Minister Christian Dubé tweeted that the province is seeing an increase in ICU admissions. Hospitalizations climbed to 160 and the number of patients in intensive care rose by 8 to 64. Britain's Prime Minister is defending the UK's evacuation operation in Afghanistan against scathing criticism from lawmakers in Parliament.
The criticism was at times brutal, but Boris Johnson repeatedly attempted to deflect that condemnation, move it toward how to approach those now in charge in Kabul.
We will judge the Taliban by their actions, not their words, and use every economic, political and diplomatic lever to protect our own countries from harm and to help the Afghan people.
But opposition Labour Party leader Keir Starmer, for one, said British troops were let down by the political leadership of Johnson's government, which he characterized as complacent and wrong. Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
And it was a big day for Quebec tennis players yesterday. Laval's Leila Annie Fernandez continued her stellar run at the U.S. Open by advancing to the quarterfinal of the women's draw. Hours later, Montreal's Félix Auger-Aliassime did the same on the men's side. The 21-year-old says he hopes his early career success will inspire other young players.
I'm not totally aware, I think, yet of maybe the impact that I have. Sometimes talking with my family, with my dad that owns an academy, he tells me, the kids watching and the impact that I can have. So it's really flattering. It's really good to feel that, of course I'm playing for myself, trying to achieve great things in the sport, but also having a good impact on others is the most gratifying thing.
And travel restrictions are easing up more tomorrow. Canada will be opening back up to fully vaccinated tourists and other travelers arriving from abroad from non-essential purposes. They won't have to quarantine for 14 days, but they will still have to produce a negative COVID-19 test along with their proof of vaccination. It's expected to affect wait times at Canadian airports, especially at Toronto Pearson. If you're planning to hop on a plane soon, you should expect more delays and allow yourself some extra time. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CJAD 800. Your Dormiville Weather Center forecast. Showers today with a risk of a severe thunderstorm. Winds gusting to 40 this afternoon. The high 21. Humidex 25. Tomorrow mainly sunny with a high of 23 degrees. The humidex making it feel like 25. And showers for Wednesday with a high of 27. It's 17 downtown. For all the news during the day, stream us on your smart speaker. Just say play CJAD 800. Your next CTV News update is at 3:30.
news and traffic, Mulcair and many, Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. It's all here on one big show. Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Natasha, by the way, is off today basking in the rain. Sun's come out. I just heard the forecast at the end of the newscast saying risk of a severe thunderstorm. I'm looking out the window. The sun has come out. It's actually looking like a pretty nice afternoon, so I'm not sure where that's coming from or if it's still coming. We'll find out when we talk to Lise McCauley just after 4 o'clock, just off the news. So for now, it's, like I said, pretty nice out there. In the meantime, I want to get to this story because, well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're probably very familiar with Leslie Chesterman. If you were a reader of the Montreal Gazette for many years, she was the Gazette's restaurant critic. And now, kind of, the new economy, as it were, coming out with a cookbook, her first one in French. And now the good news, there's going to be an English version of it. Leslie Chesterman is on the line. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, I was going to say good morning.
Yeah.
Finally, the sun came out. Good afternoon, Mr. Rand.
So listen, first of all, you decided to come up. People kind of wonder how come you hadn't done this in the past. So you came up with, and we would have thought it would have been in English first. Why did it come out in French?
Well, because I just thought that if I put it out in English first, it would be very difficult to get it translated. And I do a lot of radio work at Radio Canada, so I also have an audience that's francophone, and I didn't want to end up with a situation where I couldn't have a French book being a Quebecer. I thought it was essential. So I went French first, and then actually it took me a long time to find an English publisher, but now we're going to publish with Simon & Schuster Canada, and it's coming out next year, a year from now.
Oh.
So it's going to be a bit of a wait, but I'm happy that it's going to come out in English too, because we've sold a lot of books in French, which is great, and I think so many people have asked me for an English version of the book because it's a very basic book that with a lot of kind of basic recipes and a lot of kitchen advice, so I'm very happy that it's going to come out.
Alors, Leslie, c'est quoi le nom de le livre en français?
Le nom du livre en français, c'est Chez Leslie.
Chez
I can't
Leslie.
even pronounce my own name in French. Chez Leslie. In English, we don't know what we're going to call it. At Leslie's house. At Leslie's, Chez Leslie. I don't know. Cook with me, something. I don't know. We'll think of something.
All right. And Leslie, by the way, Lesley, the
yes,
different
let's get
spelling.
that right. It's not like Leslie Nielsen.
Right.
Which is the male way of spelling it, i.e., yes.
EY for you. All right. So that's coming up, but still, you want to buy it in French? You can buy it in French. It's out now. I want to talk about, speaking of French, I know you post a lot on Twitter. And I'm scrolling through on Saturday, whatever, taking a look, and I see that there's this picture of François Blanchet, which I described earlier as kind of looking like he was posing for, I don't know, a page in Harry Rosen or something, right? He's standing with his arm to his side, his legs spread, and I thought the picture was kind of funny because I posted the exact same kind of stance that The Rock had posed in, and I put them next to each other.
Side by side, Aaron?
I did.
Put it side by side.
I did.
Yes,
because I know how to do that. And then you tweeted out, and I don't want to get this wrong because I want you to explain what happened. The first thing you did when you saw the picture, what did you do? What did you tweet?
Well, the first thing that I noticed in that picture was that it looked like he was wearing some shoes that he found in the back of an abandoned fishing boat. To be honest, I mean, I've talked to you before about this, but I'm actually not a very shallow person who really cares that much about the way people look. But I think if you're wearing this, even in my kid's graduation, I said, you're not wearing your scruffy running shoes even if you want to. And I think in politics, if you're looking at leaders of parties, I think for now, even though we've all been wearing pajamas in the pandemic, I expect the people who are wearing a suit to not be wearing, Johnny Depp's boots. Okay? And so the first thing I tweeted about were the scruffy shoes. The second thing, I was back and forthing, joking around with somebody else who I know on Twitter, and I said the way he was standing reminded me of the way my toddlers would stand when they need their diaper changed. Oops. I admit, not nice, but I think more... But I think the third thing that got me in a lot of hot water was, my question was, I want to know seriously, does anybody like this guy?
Yeah.
Because I found that if there's one quality in politics that really matters, it's likability. It was that whole thing of who would you have a beer with, Bill Clinton or George Bush, And I find that the likability factor for him, I mean, he's very... I don't want to use any other words that could get me into trouble because I don't. I've been actually learning about him ever since I wrote that, which is, I find he's got a lot of self-confidence, this guy. He is definitely, a separatist. We could say souverainist, but he's definitely a separatist. He's for a lot of things that I'm not necessarily for, but I find that he doesn't necessarily, I don't find him all that likable.
Well, it's interesting you say that. He's been described, this actually came out last week, he's been described by people within the French media as well as kind of arrogant.
Yeah, I didn't want to use that word.
No, but that's fine. It's true.
Yes, he has been described as arrogant. There have been other words that I've heard used too. He's somebody who definitely has Quebec interests at heart. That's why the Bloc Québécois is all about. But I just find that there's something about this guy that he's giving off this really tough, in-charge persona that I guess politicians have to give off.
And you fairly asked the question.
Trump feeling there too, with the face, the seriousness. And not that he's a Trumpist in any way, but, I don't find he has a big likability factor. But the thing about all this is that the wave of hate that then came back towards me, which I've experienced before on Twitter. But one thing that is very clear to me is that, I have friends who are on Twitter from England, and they're constantly criticizing their politicians from all parties. And, everybody kind of jokes around with them, and there's debate and stuff. But I do not see the name-calling that the incredible amount of insults that come flying your way when you just say, does anybody find this guy likable, is pretty overwhelming. I mean, I was called everything.
For all intents and purposes, you were basically accused of Quebec bashing, only in terms of Yves-François Blanchet. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, I was ripped over the coals. I must come from the West Island. I obviously don't speak French. I don't respect Quebec. I'm not a Quebecer. I'm not one of them. You're one of those Canadians. I mean, I got it big, and I've seen this before. A lot of these accounts are kind of, there's a picture of Snoopy or something. There's people who really are hiding behind
in the shadows,
anonymous accounts, and they go after you hard. And I'm like, if we can't have debate if we can't joke around about his shoes, if we can't joke around by the way he stands, if we can't ask a question like, does anybody like him? That's fine. We can say, does anybody like Trudeau? Does anybody like any of the other people running in this election? In any election, can we say that without getting this wave of hate? There almost seems to be this intimidation factor here that as soon, especially anybody who's Anglophone, wants to criticize any kind of, especially separatist politician, boy, look out, you're going to get it hard. And it's like, come on, do you really, is all this hate worth it? It's so deep and so diehard. This kind of reaction. It's crazy. It's too much. It's crazy.
Yeah, to the point where, and I was kind of surprised, you actually decided, what, ça suffit, and you took down the tweet.
I've never taken down a tweet, and I've always said to people, don't take down things unless you've really done something. And I still have that question, what's his likability factor? And yet, it's funny, one of the people who responded to me was his wife. And he said, yes, I find him very likable. I like what you do. I'm sorry to see that you have this mépris, which means hate. And this is not hate, you see. And I said to her, maybe you're taking this personally because this is your husband. This is politics. This is not the schoolyard. This isn't a parent-teacher meeting. This is politics. There's a lot of people going to criticize. If that is not a huge criticism to make of somebody, and, maybe she should go out and get him a new pair of shoes.
Ouch. By the way, to be fair, and I think people, at least I hope people get this, there's a very, very big line, not a fine line, between criticism and hate. So for people to call you out for hate, completely unjustified. And if people want to go back and kind of take a look at the thread, I'm actually surprised, although maybe I shouldn't be, that you actually read the comments. Because once you start reading, you go down that rabbit hole.
Sometimes I want to point out the kind of comments that are being thrown my way, which are ridiculous. And you know what, Aaron? It really doesn't make Blanchet's supporters look very good.
Well, that's true, too.
What is this vitriol coming out? It's always been this in Quebec, though. This is a big problem here, is that we can't have any debates without it turning into a name-calling, Jello, bikini Jello bar brawl lying in the mud, that we all get so angry about everything. Blanchet speaks English very well. There are a lot of things that Blanchet says that I think make sense. It's not that I hate the guy. I want to know why people like the guy. Is that too big a question?
Fair enough. All right, listen, I'm going to run out of time. I did want to mention one other thing. You, myself, and Bill Brownstein are now going to be hosting a podcast. It's called The Corner Booth. It's up on iHeart as we speak. Episode 3 is. And we're going to be doing this every couple of weeks. So I just want to tell you I'm looking forward to it, and now it's exciting for you as well.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, and we get along very well, the three of us. We don't always not argue. We debate, but in a civil way. We have a lot of laughs, but we talk about a lot of issues that are going right now in Montreal. So we want everybody to tune in.
Corner Booth, as I said, you'll find it on iHeart. It's up on a couple of other platforms as well. And by the way, if you do listen, if and when Leslie ever says Ben Vereen, that becomes our safe word. We move on to the next topic because bad things are going to happen after that.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Leslie.
Bye, Aaron.
See you later. All right, there you go. Let's get to traffic. 3:16 on a Monday afternoon. Check on the drive with a now beautiful sunshiny afternoon out there. Here's Lauren Glazer. Lauren.
Aaron, for southbound Laurentian, we do have some off and on volume still between Prévost to almost St. Jerome. You're also losing some time through Mirabel. For the westbound side of the Met, just minor delays at this point into the DeCarry interchange. For the eastbound side of the T-Can, you are losing time as well. It starts ahead of Ancien Combattant, running out to a problem. It's after Morgan. Connect to your Mazda CX-5 from virtually anywhere with 2 years of free Mazda connected services, including remote start and a $500 Mazda bonus. Details at Mazda.ca. Let us know what you see on the roads. Call in your tips to Star 800. Your next report at 3:30.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Traffic brought to you by Spinelli's incredible 2021 clearance sale. Amazing offers on a selection of in-stock models and impeccable demos. Spinelli, the address of choice for all automotive services. When we come back, a different take on the pandemic, which we haven't talked about, by the way, so far this afternoon, but we have a really interesting piece coming up later on the show as well. But let me just tell you that if you did not hear the numbers today, we have 530 new COVID cases confirmed. There were 778 on Sunday. But remember, Monday, typically, numbers always go down. Fewer people get tested over the weekend. So 530, that number today. Of more concern, perhaps, the fact that there are now 160 people in hospital. That is up 11 from the day before. 64 people in the ICU. That is up 8 from the day before. So that's the number the government watches, those hospitalization and ICU numbers, and they have continued to climb. So just keep that in mind. And then with respect to what we're going to do, kids are back at school. Children have gone back to school now. They've been at school roughly for a week, some for a little less than that. What are the current studies saying about vaccinating children under 12 years of age? And why is it important to vaccinate them as soon as possible? We'll discuss that with our next guest when we come back.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. Brought to you by Dormez-vous. Mix and match at Dormez-vous is back. So whatever your sleep style, our sleep experts will match you to the sleep essentials you need. We're fully stocked and ready for quick delivery.
Only a few days left for the Rendezvous Air France, because the first rendezvous is always a magical moment to listen to. It's time to book your rendezvous with Paris, starting at $759 or Venice starting at $890 return. From Montreal, tax included. And with Air France Protect, our tickets are 100% changeable or refundable up until the day you fly. Travel from the 16th of October 2021 to 6th of May 2022. Some blackout dates apply. See conditions at airfrance.ca.
Need to change your glasses? Now is the time with Gratian Scout's 45-day anniversary event. Thousands of free frames or at a truly gift price. Yes, free frames or private collection frames for just $45 each for a 45th anniversary. Details are booked now at grace-scaff.com.
When it comes to climate change, many prominent voices have declared that the science is settled. In reality, it is not. Join Steve Koonin and the National Post September 28th to discuss Unsettled, what climate science tells us, what it doesn't, and why it matters. Ticketmaster.ca.
When you get an online quote and switch to Bel Air Direct, you could save up to $500 on your car and home insurance, which means you can live a little larger and finally get that vanity plate you've always wanted. Something like number 1 dad. If it's already taken, number 2 dad, or even number 5 dad, whatever's still available. At least you still crack the top 10. And that feels pretty good, doesn't it? Switch and save up to $500 on your car and home insurance. Bel Air Direct. Insurance simplified. Conditions apply.
As the world around us works its way through this pandemic, our faith and tradition remains a constant source of inner strength. Rosh Hashanah is at the center of this faith. Listening to the sound of the shofar is the soul of Rosh Hashanah. Whether you hear it sounded in a synagogue or at another location, be sure you and your family are a part of this special experience. Visit shofarmontreal.com to find a time and place of a shofar sounding that suits you. Brought to you by Chabad Lubavitch of Montreal.
Daniel and Emma are saving 25% on their appliances. Period. Corbeil has done its homework. Until September 29th, save up to 25% on a huge selection of appliances. Corbeil, for the right reasons, and saving this back-to-school season. Conditions apply. Details in store and at CorbeilElectro.com.
I'm going to Jean Coutu to get rewarded.
All right, I'll bite. How?
By pocketing a cool million.
$1 million? Really?
That's right. 1 million air miles.
Enter the 1 million miles contest at Jean Coutu until September 23rd. Just show your Air Miles card when you buy any participating product and you could pocket 1 million Air Miles bonus miles. That is, if you want to get rewarded. Details at JeanCoutu.com.
At jackpotcity.net, we know how to build you the best casino, so you can do amazing things with just one chip. Our table games are honed to perfection. We have over 500 online slot games, all designed for excitement, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot, Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpotcity.net, casino games perfectly made for you. Free play only website, 18+. Please play responsibly.
Were you told just because your mother had bunions, you'll never get them? Not true. Hereditary factors do play a big part in whether you will end up with bunions. Find out more by calling me today. Dr. Shazia Malik, 514-844-5250 or malikpodiatry.com.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Welcome back. So with schools open now, we are bracing. I hate to use that word, but the health minister said as much last week when he talked about this. We're bracing for more COVID infections, wondering how it's going to work out in schools. We know the government, of course, encouraging parents to get their kids vaccinated, especially 12 to 17, 12 to 19-year-olds. But what about the little guys, children under 12 years of old? Dr. Sandra Barone is pediatrician at the ELNA Pediatrics Tiny Tots Clinic, so she's on the line right now. Dr. Barone, with respect, first of all, to the under 12s, where are we in terms of vaccinations and how safe? Is it now the kind of thing we're okay with? Where are we on that?
So vaccine trials are ongoing. Before the use of any new vaccine or drug, clinical trials are always conducted in groups of healthy adults first. So obviously this is also the case with COVID-19. And trials are now underway in children 6 months to 11 years. The studies are going to allow researchers to study the immune response as well as to detect possible adverse reactions, because we know that children don't necessarily react the same way to vaccines as adults do. So we can't just assume that a vaccine that we give to adults or teens is the same one that we can give to younger children. We need rigorous studies to demonstrate efficacy and safety in this age group. So actually, these vaccine trials are ongoing and advancing, and Pfizer's planning to submit data to Health Canada on the trials of its vaccine probably by the end of the year. Right now, they're on the phase 2 and 3 trials, and it's looking like they might be able to submit to the U.S. for emergency use authorization sometime in September, October for those kids ages 5 to 11, and then hopefully soon after for the 6 months to 5 year age group. So we might actually be seeing these vaccines approved earlier than initially thought.
Okay, so in the meantime, parents have got their children back in school, and I guess the question then becomes, in the midst of waiting for this vaccine eventually to be approved, what do we do to keep the little guys safe?
Yeah, so I think parents are in such a tough situation, and I hear this from parents every day in clinic, and I'm living through this as well. I have 2 kids, one who's in daycare and one who's in first grade. And so I think in some ways, this back-to-school season has been even more concerning for parents because, yes, we have the vaccines, but we have this highly transmissible Delta variant. Our kids, as you said, between the ages of 5 and 11 are not vaccinated, and so there's still a lot of concerns. The good news is that those good old prevention measures do still work, okay? So masking is still a really, really important prevention measure. Basic hand hygiene, physical distancing, all the things that we've been saying since the beginning of the pandemic are still those main measures that we have to keep in place. And we know that humans are fallible. We know that we're probably not going to be 100% on any of these measures, and that's why we have to have these multiple layers of prevention strategies so that if there's a breach in one, we hope that by having all of them in place, we can still mitigate that risk as much as possible. And you said it, there's never going to be a zero risk situation. We send our kids to school knowing that there's always a risk of viral infection, which is usually mild and benign, but that risk is always going to be there. So it's really about what we can do to decrease that risk as much as possible.
You know, before kids went back, we were talking about, of course, about schools not necessarily having, necessary precautions in place. I'm talking about testing, although that's perhaps going to change or is in the midst of changing. Even, the air purification systems. I'm wondering, that being the case, sending little guys back to school, do we know with respect to transmitting disease what happens with little guys? Are they more or less susceptible to transmitting?
Yes. So at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of data to suggest that children were not vectors for the COVID-19 virus as much as adults were. Unfortunately, with the Delta variant, we're seeing that because this variant is in and of itself so much more contagious, that kids are probably also more likely to transmit.
Okay.
Again, those prevention measures I mentioned earlier are working. We do see, though, and we have seen over the course of the summer, with increasing contacts and increasing, kids going to day camps and sports and things like that, that those regular seasonal viruses are starting to circulate again in the community. So again, this fall and winter, we do unfortunately expect to see a case in those other viruses like influenza, the flu virus, or RSV, another really common respiratory virus in kids. So this is sort of what we're looking toward. And again, we need to be doing everything we can to prevent, but things that you mentioned like ventilation, the masking, the physical distancing, the hand washing, these are all things that not only prevent infection from COVID-19, but prevent infection from all of these other common viruses as well.
Yeah, which led me to my question, as you just brought up now, we were going to see another cold and flu season. I think that goes with a question, obviously, but is there a way to recognize differences in symptoms between, say, the regular cold or flu and COVID?
Yeah, so that's really difficult. So a quarter of children with COVID will just have cold-like symptoms. So symptoms can really be similar to the flu or a cold, fever, runny nose, cough, sore throat, things like that. Some kids will generally feel unwell. They'll have fatigue, muscle aches. One thing we're seeing a little bit more frequently in kids that we don't see so much in adults is gastrointestinal symptoms, so vomiting and diarrhea. Loss of smell, anosmia, is less common in kids, but the bottom line is that by looking at your child and looking at their symptoms, there's no real way, even as a clinician, myself, when I see a child in clinic, I cannot tell you 100% this is not COVID-19 if your child is presenting with some of those symptoms. And that leads back to the importance of having access to testing, because really that's the only way to know for sure.
We've heard about long COVID. We're actually going to talk about this later in the show. I'm wondering, with respect to the little guys, the ones who do, because we know some have gotten this, what is the outlook for them? I mean, how severe are symptoms and how long do they typically last?
Mm-hmm. So this is a really great question, and it's drawn the interest of clinicians and researchers all over the world. There's actually a specialized clinic in the respiratory medicine department at St. Justin that's following these kids. Some of them have prolonged respiratory symptoms, so breathing difficulty. Some of them have more neurologic type symptoms like persistent headache or fatigue. The good news is that so far in the cohort of children that have been followed, these symptoms tend to decrease over the course of the following months. And so that's what we know for now. We'll probably be able to gather a lot more data in the coming months to years. But this is a question that's of great interest to clinicians and researchers, and we're hoping to have more data soon.
So for now, same thing you were doing up until now. Keep your kids safe, wear those masks, wash those hands, do everything we've been told to do up until now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Dr. Barone, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Sandra Barone, pediatrician at the Elna Pediatrics Tiny Tots Clinic. So there you go. Again, I think she mentioned, right, they're seeking emergency status in the U.S., like the FDA would have that, and that's going to hopefully come by, I think she said September, October, and we'll see where we are at that point. As far as Quebec goes, I know we had reports last week on COVID École Québec where you can follow along with what's actually going on in schools. We have already had outbreaks here and outbreaks there. They were to be expected. They're happening. September is going to be a tough month, and maybe a harbinger of, what's to come for the fall. When we take our break right here, then we're going to come back and talk about something completely different. But, one of those stories that I think even if you're not a big fan of boxing, you have to sit back and wonder what's going on. Of course, the weekend tragic death of that Mexican fighter, the 18-year-old, was in Montreal in a match, ended up dying. We're going to talk to a boxing analyst, Russ Anber, and find out what this means going forward. Are we going to be talking about the idea of banning boxing? Because it's come up again. That's next.
Good afternoon. It's 3:30. I'm Nicole Pirano with a CTV News update. Here's what's making news right now. The suspect at the center of last week's Amber Alert was in court today. He's facing one count of discharging a firearm so far. More charges may be added. The 36-year-old will remain behind bars until his trial begins early next month. Canada is opening up to fully vaccinated international travelers tomorrow. People looking to get into the country will still need a negative COVID-19 test, as well as their proof of a complete vaccination schedule of a vaccine approved by Health Canada. And the UN's top climate official is urging governments to stop their, quote, deferral and delay tactics and instead embrace measures to curb global warming. Amid a season of extreme weather and new temperature records, Patricia Espinoza warned that no nation is safe from the impacts of climate change. With the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Lauren Glazer.
Some slowdowns now on the westbound side of the 10, starting ahead of the 35 running out to Outer Route 30. Also some additional volume between the 132 and the bridge. For the eastbound side of the T-Can, you're losing time as well from the end of the Latorte running out to an accident. That's after Morgan. For southbound Laurentian, time lost through Prévost and again off and on St. Jerome down to the outlets. Get ready for the football season on DAZN. Stream every NFL game live and on demand. Start your free trial at DAZN.com. DAZN, game change. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 3:45.
Your Dormiville Weather Center forecast. Showers today. That severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect. Winds gusting to 40, the high 21, humidex 25. Tomorrow, mainly sunny with a high of 23 and a humidex of 25. And 27 for Wednesday with showers in the forecast. It's 19 right now downtown. Your next CTV News update is at 4 o'clock.
This newscast brought to you by Guaranteed Industries. Keep cool with an air conditioning maintenance visit from Guaranteed Industries. Call 514-342-3400.
What if we could heat better with less?
We can. At Énergir, we provide our clients with grants to encourage the use of more energy-efficient equipment.
What if energy savings were measured in tons?
We can do that too. At Énergir, we've supported over 130,000 projects that have collectively saved more than 1 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions. Énergir. Imagine energy differently.
With some help from Broe Martineau, Kyle finally found an armchair with style to add a touch of class to his mid-century meets boho sanctuary. Now it's just a matter of keeping Mr. Snuffles away. The experts at Broe Martineau are ready to help you shop with confidence in 3 ways. In-store, with or without an appointment, via live chat, or by phone. And delivery is free on orders over $799. Broe Martineau, about equality and price.
Introducing a new beast from Subaru, the all-new 2022 Outback Wilderness, the most capable Subaru ever unleashed. Contact your Subaru dealer for more details. Set it free.
Hello, I'm Shuda Bashir of Bashir Carpet. I invite you to see more than 3,000 beautiful modern and classic rugs from Iran, Pakistan, and Turkey. We offer repairs, cleaning, and rug sales since 1976. Visit 8461 Dakari or BashirCarpets.com.
Joe Fresh has everything you need to check off your back-to-school shopping list. Tees, sweaters, jackets, jeans, running shoes, activewear, and more. Plus, you'll save 25% on regular price children's apparel in stores and on joefresh.com until September 6th.
Sarah's excited to celebrate her birthday at a restaurant. She's thought about it all week. She invited her friends. She got a new dress. She went to the restaurant. She wasn't allowed in the restaurant. She had to put away her new dress. She couldn't see her friends. And she thought about it all week.
Don't wait until it hits you. Get vaccinated. A vaccination passport is now required to enter certain public spaces. A message from the Gouvernement du Québec.
Mix and Match at Dormez-vous is back, where we'll match you to the right mix of products, no matter your sleep style. So whether you're a sprawler, a spooner, a sheet snuggler, or a mix of everything in between, our sleep experts have seen it all and will help you find the sleep essentials you need. Get a hot buy on a queen mattress made with cool gel foam for optimal temperature control for only $349. This price ends Tuesday, only at Dormez-vous. Sleep well, stay well. Dormez-vous.
Yup, it's a new season of the NFL on TSN and CTV. And this year, it's 18 weeks of more football than ever.
You gotta be kidding me!
NFL Kickoff. It all begins Thursday, September 9th at 7 on TSN and CTV2.
Need to catch up? You came to the right place. Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Welcome back. It's a tragic story. Took place last week. 18-year-old female boxer who was here from Mexico, dying, of course, from her injuries. She convulsed or began to convulse in the ring, was eventually placed into an induced coma, and sadly ended up dying. And it brought up the question again. First of all, she's 18 years old. Was she overmatched? Why did this happen? Does this have to keep happening? It's obviously not the first time a boxer has died from injuries, be it a man or a woman, although perhaps it is for a woman. I'm not even sure. Russ Anber is a boxing analyst. He's the founder of Rival Boxing Gear. He's got more than 40 years of experience in the sport of boxing, and he's on the line right now. Russ, thanks for being here this afternoon.
My pleasure, Aaron. And I think you may be right about a woman, first time a woman succumbs in the ring. You may be right about that. Definitely in Canada and certainly in Montreal, that's for sure. I even would think North America. I don't remember a case of a woman suffering death in a ring.
I will tell you, I looked back when we were going to do this story, and there's one figure that kind of stuck out to me. There have been more than 500 people who have died since boxing. We're going back 100 and some odd years now, obviously, but in the ring from a match. And we have to remember back in the day, of course, there was bare knuckles boxing. It's not the same as it is now. But Russ, the question comes up anytime there's this kind of a thing happen. Montrealers can remember the Cleveland Denny fight. Why are we still allowing this to happen? And beyond the calls of people saying, well, it's time to ban boxing, what should be done? First of all, in this particular case, as far as you're concerned, how did this ever happen that this girl with 3 fights under her belt is certainly is here fighting for her $1,800 payday and ends up paying with her life?
Okay, well, there's a lot of questions in there, Aaron, so I'm not sure which one you want to address.
Well,
first.
Let's talk first about here's a girl, 18 years old. We now know, because we found this out after the fact, she'd suffered a concussion previously in a boxing match. How does she end up coming to Montreal to fight?
Well, that's probably the only bizarre question in this. And, unfortunately, Quebec, which has one of the best commissions in the world, we have no control over what happens abroad. And as I said in an interview the other day, I think what ended up happening here is the bucket arrived, full here in Montreal, and the last drop made it overflow, and that's what made it so tragic. It looks like the damage had been done previously for some bizarre reason. Well, I say bizarre reason, but very common in Mexico, that fighters, whether they are male or female, can turn pro at the age of 15, and she did. And in some of her matches that she had when she was 15, she fought women who were 30 years old, which would never happen in a North American contest. Even in an amateur bout, a 15-year-old couldn't fight a 30-year-old. So we don't know what kind of damage this poor girl suffered prior to getting here in Montreal. The only thing that you could say, and it wouldn't be a rule, it would just be common sense, or, just say, hey, let's not do this. The only thing that could have been done would have been to say, let's not match this girl because she got knocked out in her last fight. So we don't want to have somebody who just got knocked out in their last actually 2 fights, although they were 3 years apart. We don't want to have somebody like that on our card. That would have been only a common sense or a personal decision to make, but it wouldn't have been a rule, because as far as the rules go, she passed what she was supposed to pass and provided the medicals that she was supposed to provide, which is why I've been saying this all week now. The fault doesn't lie on boxing. The fault doesn't lie on the sport. The fault lies on the people who are supposed to be there to protect her own team, her manager, her trainer, whoever it might be that's taking care of her, has to know. And like every trainer has to know, when a fighter is overmatched, when you see a fighter might be in a certain amount of difficulty, oh, this girl's really good that we're fighting, or this guy's really good, I got to be careful. And at the first sign that your fighter cannot compete, you stop the fight. You have the power to do that. That's why I don't want to blame the referee. I don't want to blame anybody else. I want to blame the people who are supposed to care for her, the ones who could have pulled the trigger to stop the fight and not leave her there hanging, somewhat defenseless, tired, exhausted, knowing what had happened to her a couple of months earlier. That's where the fault lies.
Okay.
It doesn't lie in the sport of boxing, Aaron.
But let me ask you this then. So that's her team and how they let her down. But what about the girl who she was fighting here? Because I've heard people suggest that, you know what, the reason she's fighting this girl, it was an easy win for her. It looks good for her. It helps her on her card to show, here's another fight she fought. Where's the responsibility on their end to say, look, we're matching you up against someone who's not even close to being of your caliber. It's an easy win for you. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, sadly, that's the nature of the beast in this sport. And you don't always know exactly what you're getting. And that's why you have developmental fights and you bring people along, whether they be, I'll just use general, like guys, you come out with 4-rounders, 6-rounders, 8-rounders, you move them up, you increase the opposition, you see how they do. Not every fight, Aaron, can be Ali Fraser. And to make a note, and this is probably the most important thing. Whenever there has been serious injury or death as a result of a boxing match, it almost always happens in a high-level fight. It rarely, if ever, happens in a low-level preliminary 4-rounder or 6-rounder. That's almost unheard of, that somebody succumbs to injuries in the 4th round. Not only the 4th round, but in this case, 4 2-minute rounds for women. So this is one of the most, abnormal things I've seen in my 42 years in the sport. This is something that should never have happened, because it doesn't. Usually, and as you mentioned, Cleveland Denny, this was a high, evenly matched, high-level, world-class contest. Adonis Stevenson was injured against Vodzik in a world light heavyweight championship fight, a high level. What we saw with this poor girl is an anomaly. This should never have happened. And, the question again remains why, but maybe she had a predisposed condition. We know that she had got knocked out a couple of months earlier. These things surface now. That's why I say her team knew of this. They knew exactly what the risks were. They should have protected that kid.
So let me ask you, your initial reaction, your gut reaction when you hear people say, and I'm going to ask this question later in the show after 4 o'clock, when people say, based on what they saw here, boxing should be banned. What's your first reaction when you hear that? Because I'm sure you've heard it before.
Of course, Aaron, I've heard that before. And you know what? I've heard in a different way put, like I heard it in French say, ça pas de place dans notre société. It has no place in our society. Well, it might not have a place in your society, but in a massive parts of all over the world, it's of massive importance to people. People make their living doing this, and they understand the risks going in, and they train and they work hard. And, you listed the number of deaths that have occurred over the last, 100 years?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, a little more than that.
Well, maybe we should count up, how many boxing matches have been held the world over, amateur and pro, Olympics and everything that you can imagine to arrive at that number. And we say, oh, yeah, but you're going out there hitting someone. That's true. But how many football players, professional wrestlers, hockey players have ended their life because of suffering damage from CTE, from getting concussions, continuing to play, and had damage later in a sport that they're not supposed to be thinking about getting that. Boxing, you accept the risk of what's going to happen. How many of these people suffered a horrific demise, dementia, whatever, and if it may, in some cases like Todd Ewan taking your life as an enforcer in the NHL because you fought through concussions and you did all that, but you were supposed to be playing hockey. You weren't expecting to get hit with an elbow at 30 miles an hour at center ice, blindsided. But in boxing, you know the risks that you're taking. And I know it's not a perfect world, and I know that we can't do that. And it's very easy for people to say, this has no place. Well, for these people, it does. And boxing has been, part of what we have in boxing now is the evolution of taking it from underground with no protection. As you mentioned earlier, the bare knuckle fights, underground boxing, non-regulated, no checking, no medical, nothing, to bring it to where we are now. Banning it is certainly not the answer. What I think we need is to make sure that the opponents that we bring from outside, who don't necessarily have the same regulations that first world countries would have, like whether it be the UK or the USA or Canada, where we have stricter regulations regarding our amateurs turning professional. That's the most important thing that we have to address, because right now it's so easy for anybody to turn professional. And that's probably, in my opinion, the worst thing in boxing, is that anybody can turn pro. And we're seeing now with these YouTubers, being granted professional boxing license, and that's wrong.
Russ Anber, 40 years, more than 40 years in boxing. Russ, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you taking the time.
All right, there you go. We're going to talk about this, as I said. It'll be our question of the day after 4 o'clock. You heard him make his case. I'm curious to know what yours is with respect to banning boxing after this 18-year-old woman died here in Montreal last week. Let's first go to traffic. CJAD 800 Traffic Center. Lauren Glazer with a check on the drive. Lauren?
Aaron, looking at the eastbound side of the T-Can, we are seeing volume from the end of the Ile-Tourt Bridge. Running back to Chemin Sainte-Marie, earlier on we had a problem through that area. For southbound Laurentian, that has off and on delays as well between Saint-Severin-Prévost, again between St. Jerome and Mirabel. For the westbound 10, you're losing some time between the 223 and Autoroute 30. To fully enjoy your last barbecues, take advantage of the Mediterranean Freshness Sale at Marché Adonis. Until September 8th, hummus or garlic dip for only $4.99. Let us know what you see on the roads. Call in your tips to Star 800. Your next report at 4 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Lord. Traffic brought to you by Spinelli's incredible 2021 clearance sale. That means amazing offers on a selection of in-stock models and impeccable demos. Spinelli, the address of choice for all automotive services. When we come back, Dr. Chris Labos is going to join us. He, of course, is a cardiologist. Joins us from time to time. You can hear him here on weekends, Sunday mornings and weekends with Ken. But we were talking about this over the weekend, and it dawned on me, I don't think we've ever discussed this. So with all the talk about COVID and what to do and how to be safe and the protocols to follow and get your vaccine and be safe. And today, for example, the government publishes its list every day, not just of the number of new cases and hospitalizations, but they started adding something to it. Which is kind of interesting, and that's your risk of hospitalization. So we know now there are 160 people in hospital in Quebec, 11 more today than yesterday fighting COVID. They list your risk of hospitalization if you're unvaccinated is currently 29.5 times higher than if you are vaccinated, ending up in a hospital. That's a pretty staggering figure. But then I thought, okay, so maybe someone who's had COVID. What happens when you get COVID? Then what? Let's say you're not in the hospital. You don't require hospitalization. What is that? What do you do? What's the treatment for it? We're going to ask that of Dr. Labos next.
This Friday on Chatter That Matters with Tony Chapman, presented by RBC.
Kevin Newman's career in television journalism is unmatched in Canada. Kevin takes us back to 9/11, the 20 years of disruption that happened afterwards, and why the price of a stellar career also puts a bounty on the quality of family life.
Chatter That Matters with Tony Chapman, presented by RBC, Friday at noon, right here on News Talk Radio CJAD 800.
Leave no dream behind. Join Vanier's continuing education department and pursue effective career programs in early childhood education, computerized financial management, damage insurance, web and database programming, software development, skills for the administrative assistant, and cybersecurity. Click the continuing education tab at vaniercollege.qc.ca and sign up for an information session today. Visit vaniercollege.qc.ca and leave no dream behind.
I thought about the emails I had to answer. I thought about my client presentation, about our shared custody schedule. I thought about the kids' homework and about my dentist appointment. I thought about my budget. I even thought about the new roof we need. And while I was thinking about all that, I didn't think about braking for the red light. I hit a young man crossing the street. And now, that's all I can think about.
Behind the wheel, think about driving. A message from the Société de l'Assurance Automobile du Québec.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate online at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll benefit a child and get a maximum tax credit.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today, and your car can be gone tomorrow.
Mix and Match at Dormez-vous is back, where we'll match you to the right mix of products, no matter your sleep style. So whether you're a sprawler, a spooner, a sheet snuggler, or a mix of everything in between, our sleep experts have seen it all and will help you find the sleep essentials you need. Get a hot buy on a queen mattress made with cool gel foam for optimal temperature control for only $349. This price ends Tuesday, only at Dormez-vous. Sleep well, stay well. Dormez-vous.
When you drive a Jeep, every day is an adventure waiting to happen. A trip to the grocers isn't just a trip to the grocers. It's a trip to to the grocers. Exit the driveway, past the parkette, the strip mall, till you reach the grocery store. It's the Jeep Adventure Days sales event. Get up to 10% off MSRP for up to $7,500 in discounts, plus up to $2,000 in loyalty cash for select owners. See dealer for details.
When you bundle your insurance with La Capitale, Emily.
What?
You can save an average of $425. Your SUV plus your home.
La Capitale is talking to me?
Call 1-888-LA Capitale to bundle and save. Sound good, Emily?
Oh, yeah.
Walmart is the #1 place to save money on groceries. That's why you can save $153 on a 725-gram jar of Nutella. Now only $4.44 at Walmart.
I gotta say, all of the legalese they're cramming into radio ads for cars has become a joke. $386 a month, 20,000 K per year, 12 cents per extra K, 260 payments, 30,304 MSRP, taxes not included. Jeez, it's halfway between a politician and an auctioneer. You can't understand a thing, but there might not be much to understand either. But at our one dealership group, Vimont Toyota Laval, we like it simple. For Toyotas, come to Vimont Toyota Laval. Simple, right? Going once, going twice, going 3 times, sold! Vimont Toyota Laval. What a group. Okay, group. Go, go, go!
If you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
You tell them, Jan. That's why from now on, you're in charge of your life, your career, and just about everything else.
What? Why?
A new season of Jan starts Monday, September 27th, only on CTV.
You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Dr. Chris Labos is a cardiologist. He has a degree in epidemiology, and of course, you can hear him Sunday mornings here on his house call. That's at 8:10 on Weekends with Ken. Dr. Labos, we chat from time to time, and I sort of thought about this over the weekend, talking with friends and thinking, we've talked so much about everything around COVID, how to protect yourself, the measures to take, the protocols in place. But then I wondered, what happens if you actually get COVID and you don't end up in a hospital and you don't end up being intubated? So what is it? What does it turn into, and how do you treat it? What do you do?
Well, it's basically a viral illness, and in that way, it's a viral illness like many others. There's no specific treatment that kills the virus itself in the same way that we have antibiotics to treat a bacterial infection. So a viral infection pretty much just has to run its course, and your immune system will eventually fight it off. The problem with COVID is that the virus can do such damage to your lungs that it can make you very, very sick. So if you're one of the lucky ones that doesn't have a severe infection and it doesn't cause a severe pneumonia and you're able to stay home, your body will eventually fight off the infection. And so the treatment for COVID is much as it is with most other viral illnesses, which is just rest, drink plenty of fluids, and eventually it will pass. The treatments that we have and that we can use are largely for the more severe cases, and they're not actually directed against the virus. They're actually anti-inflammatory medication. They're there to suppress the immune system so that you don't have that secondary immune response that damages the lungs, which is what usually causes people to end up in hospital and on a ventilator.
Okay, so that's interesting. You're basically treating this like you would the flu, the cold, whatever, as you just said. Stay in bed, drink your fluids, etc. If you have pain, take a couple of Tylenols, that kind of a thing.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, most viral illnesses symptomatically resemble each other, and we usually don't test for them. Like if you had the cold, we could, in theory, figure out which virus it was that gave you the cold. We just often don't bother because, it would cost a lot of money to be isolating all these viral samples in people, and we wouldn't change management anyway. So in most situations, we don't actually try to figure out which virus it is because it doesn't matter. With COVID, it matters because we want to give patients specific treatments, and we need to know that in hospital for isolating patients to make sure that you don't have then secondary COVID outbreaks in the hospital.
So in that case, it's really not even a matter of recognizing that you have COVID. If your symptoms are that, if you can use it, sort of not severe, that you're having trouble necessarily breathing, or you're impaired in some other way in terms of chest pain or anything else, you rest it up, you're good. When do you know that it's time to go to the hospital?
So the reason to go to hospital is when you don't have enough oxygen in your blood. And so if you had a portable saturation monitor at home, you could check that. Now, I'm not suggesting people go out and get those, because depending on where you get it, there is some models are better than others, some are less accurate. The point is that if you're short of breath, if you have trouble breathing, it's probably because you don't have enough oxygen in your bloodstream, and then you need supplemental oxygen. And that's the one thing that you really can't do at home. You can't give yourself extra oxygen. So that's the point to go to hospital. That would be the main reason why we kept somebody in hospital. They were so sick, they needed oxygen, and then they can't go home. If you're well enough, if you have enough oxygen in your bloodstream, if your oxygen levels are high enough, and, you're not feeling that badly, you can probably ride out the illness at home. But that's sort of the one dividing line where it's very clear that this is somebody who can't go home, who needs to stay in hospital.
And once that happens, I sort of want to play this. Let's say you are in that situation. You end up in hospitals. Obviously, not everyone who's hospitalized is going to end up being intubated. So what is the treatments once you get into a hospital with this, assuming you don't have to have that?
So it largely depends on your oxygen level. If you just need a little bit of oxygen, you can probably get oxygen via nasal prongs, those tubes that stick into your nose. As you need more and more oxygen, then you need a face mask. And if you need more, so the percent of oxygen in the air is 21%. That's how much oxygen is in ambient air. If you need more than 50% oxygen, that's usually a sign that your respiratory system is deteriorating to the point that you need to be intubated. What most people don't realize is that oxygen in high doses can actually be toxic to the lungs. So we can't give people more than 50% oxygen for any extended period of time. So once you cross that threshold, that's usually a sign that you probably need to be intubated until you can clear the infection and your lungs can recover to some degree.
Can I ask you, have you seen evidence now, because I know we do the numbers every day of infections, et cetera, the numbers of hospitalizations, even though they've gone up a bit, are still what you might call at a reasonable level. When people get infected, from what you're seeing now, is it just as severe as it always was, or are you seeing milder cases because this variant has now been around for a while?
This is sort of anecdotal. For people who are vaccinated, they do seem to be getting less severe infections. The unvaccinated people are just unvaccinated. The variants in this virus hasn't been around long enough for people to develop sort of, the quote-unquote natural immunity, or for the virus to evolve to the point where it doesn't harm us. Don't forget, it's not in a virus's best interest to kill you, right? A virus wants you to stay alive so you can go out and infect others. So viruses that have been with us for centuries, millennia, have evolved, and we've evolved so that we get sick, but we don't die. And so eventually, this coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, if it stays around for long enough, will eventually get to the point where it won't be as severe. But this is something that's going to happen over years and years and years and years and years. It's not something that's going to happen over the course of a few months.
So this is what you're describing goes from pandemic to endemic. In other words, we learn to live with it.
Yes, that's one possible option. Now, it's not necessarily the only option. Viruses have gone away. Don't forget, SARS, the first big coronavirus pandemic, just went away because we were able to contain it. Now, the properties of that virus were a little bit different. And MERS, the other big coronavirus outbreak that no one talks about, that too did not become endemic. So this virus could become endemic, but it could also not. There's still multiple potential outcomes, and I don't think anybody really knows for sure. What you're describing, a lot of people have said it could happen, but it's not a given. There is still the possibility that we could contain this thing, and maybe we won't have cyclical outbreaks of COVID, which, would be very difficult to deal with, but with repeated vaccination could, if that were to happen with repeated vaccinations, could potentially be manageable.
Okay. Dr. Labos, as always, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right. We're going to get you to news. It's coming up next. James Meddy on the other side of that. Stay with us.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. Brought to you by Dormez-vous. Mix and match at Dormez-vous is back. So whatever your sleep style, our sleep experts will match you to the sleep essentials you need. We're fully stocked and ready for quick delivery.
For a safe anti-wrinkle treatment performed by physicians, trust Epiderma's medical aesthetic care experts. Save up to 15% off injections from your second visit on. Choose Epiderma, a proudly Quebec company for more than 20 years. Epiderma.ca for details.
Smile Cookie Week is coming to Tim Hortons. Every time you buy a cookie, 100% of proceeds go towards local charities and community groups, like food banks and hospitals. Grab one from September 13th to the 19th and help spread smiles across your community at participating restaurants in Canada for a limited time.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, an iHeart radio station.
This newscast brought to you by Electrica Residential Electricians, 2021 winner of the Consumer's Choice Awards in the electricians category. Electrica with a K.ca.
Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. I'm Nicole Prano with your CTV News update. The thunderstorm watch is in effect for another couple of hours, then clearing and making way for a sunny Tuesday. It's 19 degrees. More weather details in minutes. Here's what's making news right now. Labor Day campaign promises focuses on all thing employment. Border restrictions loosening a bit more tomorrow, and the UN says it's willing to work with Afghanistan's new leadership. With the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Lauren Glazer. In the news, on day 23 of the election campaign, Conservative leader Erin O'Toole was in Ottawa promising to double the Canada Workers' Benefit tax credit.
Making these changes will help 3.5 million families pay the bills and put food on the table. For someone earning between $12,000 and $28,000 a year, this will represent a $1 per hour raise.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is highlighting the party's commitment to universal childcare, higher minimum wages, and paid sick leave. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau says if his party is re-elected, they will table legislation to protect organizations that want to require immunization. And the Bloc Québécois Yves-François Blanchet says he would reform employment insurance to make it easier for the self-employed to access benefits. Just as the tourist season is drawing to a close, the Canadian border is opening back up for non-essential international travel. For entry, tourists will need to produce proof of vaccination, and accepted vaccines include the Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson. The border has been shut to most international travel since the pandemic began. The new easing of restrictions is expected to increase delays and wait times at major airports. So if you're planning a trip, you may want to allow yourself a little extra time. A week after Hurricane Ida blew ashore, many people in Louisiana are still struggling to get food, water, and fuel. The deadly storm flooded homes, tore up trees, and knocked out power grids. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell says electrical crews have been working non-stop to bring back power.
Last night, Entergy reported about 49% of power restored, but that has increased to about 66% as of this morning, but on track to that 70% by tonight.
But a utility company warns that fully restoring electricity to some areas outside New Orleans could take until the end of the month. A new pilot project is launching in the province with the goal of offering better child protection intervention services. In a release, the Justice Minister, Junior Health Minister, and Public Security Minister said mediation is a possible avenue before court intervention and will be offered after a deadlock or when voluntary agreements are refused. The hope is it will encourage parents to find better solutions outside the court to protect their children. It will be gradually implemented throughout the province in 2022. And the United Nations says it's willing to work with Afghanistan's new rulers.
Martin Griffiths, the UN Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, is in Kabul, where he met with Taliban leaders, including the group's co-founder, to engage on humanitarian issues. According to the UN, the authorities pledged to cooperate with humanitarian workers to ensure assistance reaches those in need. They're also ensuring the safety and security of humanitarian staff. More meetings are expected in the next few days. Inez de la Cuetera, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
And from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Jill Fitzgerald.
Good afternoon. TCAN eastbound, a slow mover from the end of the Illo-Tort Bridge eases up before Morgan as you make your way through the work zone. Elsewhere on the West Island, traffic is looking good. Laurentian Autoroute northbound has delays south of St. Sever and after the 158 through Blainville. On the South Shore, quite a bit of volume on the 10 westbound between autoroutes 35 and 30. Looks like we had an incident after the 30. Beyond that point, things are looking good for the Champlain Bridge. 50 or over, what are you waiting for? Ask your pharmacist today if helping prevent pneumococcal pneumonia with the Prevnar 13 vaccine is right for you. Learn more at Prevnar.ca. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Next report, 4:15.
For all the news during the day, stream us on your smart speaker. Just say, play CJAD 800. Your next CTV News update is at 4:30.
Sam's excited to see his favorite band play live. He's thought about it all week. He bought his ticket. He wore his band t-shirt. He went to the concert venue. He wasn't allowed inside the concert venue. He put away his band t-shirt. He threw away his ticket. And he thought about it all week.
Don't wait until it hits you. Get vaccinated. A vaccination passport is now required to enter certain public spaces. A message from the Gouvernement du Québec.
Meldrum the Mover. Yeah, we pack it, we ship it, we unpack, we set you up again. Meldrum the Mover. There's no better mover. Local and long distance, show order, long-term storage. Call 514-481-1122. Meldrum the Mover.
Buying your groceries in your pajamas is a liberating experience, I can tell you. But it is best to be at home.
Lucky for you, Good Food is adding over 40 new grocery products every week and delivers them directly to your door. Whatever you're wearing.
Let's make good food, everybody.
Order meal kits and groceries at makegoodfood.ca. Certain conditions apply.
So ordinarily we would go to Lise Macaulay if I was in today taking care of weather, but we're having trouble getting a hold of her. So let me give you the forecast as it stands right now. There is still a severe thunderstorm watch in effect, although you never know it. It started to clear up a little while ago. Now it's starting to cloud over a bit. So a couple of showers ending this evening, then partly cloudy, and then that risk of a severe thunderstorm early this evening. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, mainly sunny, pretty nice day coming up, and a high of 23 degrees. But just keep an eye out for that thunderstorm. We are in severe thunderstorm watch right now for those early evening thunderstorms. Right now, let's go to James Meny, the Montreal Gazette.
James Meny, brought to you by Gilbert & Daughter. This week, women's high-end fashions are 50% off their already discounted prices. Open Monday to Saturday at 49 Donegani in Point Claire.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
All right, that is James Meny. So, Jim, first of all, happy Labor Day.
And to you. And may I say, I don't know if in your storied career you've ever done you do a pretty good weather forecast.
Yeah, that the emergency weather forecast is always handy. So, yeah. It was just hard to figure out how we're getting a thunderstorm. When you look outside, it was so beautiful about 20 minutes ago, but now it's starting to cloud.
Yeah, well.
All right, look, let's talk about Aaron O'Toole. All of a sudden, I said this off the top of the show today for our first question, asking people how they were going to vote, or at least if they'd made up their mind to vote. Did you see the gun issue becoming a wedge issue in this election a week ago?
Absolutely not. But then again, I didn't see Aaron O'Toole turning around and basically trying to do a bait and switch with page 90 of his platform. And it's kind of funny because you're supposed to know about these things before you go into a nationwide debate. But for those of our listeners who are just catching up, essentially, we already have a ban on what are referred to as assault weapons. They can fire in full automatic mode, in other words, like machine guns. And then there was an ordering council from the Trudeau government that essentially banned assault-type weapons. These are the kinds of weapons that were used in the massacres at the Polytechnique and up in Quebec City. They fire as many bullets as you have in the magazine and as many times as you pull the trigger. So it's a bit of a fine line to say, well, these are really assault weapons, and they're not. Yeah, they're pretty deadly. They're people killers. What's interesting, though, Aaron, is I see this afternoon that the mayors of Montreal, Quebec City, Gatineau, and Longueuil will be meeting the press tomorrow to call upon whatever federal government we end up with after September 20th to deal with the firearms issue, but quite frankly, one that's affecting people right now, which is the idea of a nationwide ban on handguns within various municipal limits. Now, Trudeau's been kicking this around. He's been saying, well, I'll give all my support to municipalities that want to do this. The problem is, as these mayors argue, is that you can't leave it to various municipalities. You can't have a gun-friendly jurisdiction, even in the same province, and have a ban try to work in other municipalities. So it's interesting that they have seen the sort of disruption the whole firearms issue has caused to this campaign, and trying to just go right up through the middle and get what, as far as I'm concerned, is an even more urgent firearms issue settled, specifically that of illegal handguns.
But even, Jim, as Trudeau throws some more weight at this now that he's got Aaron O'Toole on the ropes, if you will, your suggestion is this may not have hurt Aaron O'Toole as much as we think, or not?
Oh, I think it has, if only because I don't think people were laying awake at night thinking about the difference between semi-automatic and fully automatic rifles. But what people may be remembering now, and it's funny because it sort of almost occurred in passing in the debate, as you recall. What's happening now is Aaron O'Toole said originally, no, I'm not gonna fool with the assault weapons. The contradiction was in the platform itself. It was written there, and now it's at the point where he hasn't had to just to flip on it. He's had to flop because he's going back and saying, essentially, I will maintain what the Liberal government has already established. And that is a problem, because anybody who might have been scratching their head and saying, well, I kind of like the cut of his jib, can turn around and say, well, he flip-flopped now, and once he's in power, he could flip-flop again. And, we've seen promises, and Trudeau's as guilty as this as anyone else, that are made during a campaign just disappear into thin air once you're in government. So, but on the one hand, people there might be people out there who strongly feel about, Trudeau's broken promise about proportional representation as being how we elect governments. He never went through with that. When you come to firearms, that's a little more tangible. It's a little more gritty. It's a little more tragic. And believe me, it's one of several issues I'm sure that Trudeau will be hammering away at over the course of the next two debates this week.
You imagine the next two debates are going to get a little more feisty than the last one?
Absolutely. And if there's anything we can decode from this, deluge of sometimes contradictory polls, it's that the Liberals are bleeding, not necessarily from self-inflicted wounds, but from the projection that Trudeau is giving. Lots of times, in the end, the Liberals have been able to sort of frighten NDP supporters into voting for them, because they'll say, listen, look at the alternative. You want to give the Conservative majority? Problem is, that's not happening. They're not, at least not happening now. They're not seeing that sort of slow but steady hemorrhage of votes or support towards the Liberals that has occurred in the past from the NDP, which is why I think you're going to see Trudeau go after O'Toole, but he is going to really, as far as I can tell, go after Jagmeet Singh like a wolverine. He cannot afford Singh to walk away from either of these debates in a single piece, politically speaking, because we're getting down to the crunch now. And we know, and we've had this conversation before, a lot of times people don't make up their minds until the very, very last minute. But the fact is, there's another week of campaigning past these debates. There's a whole bunch of things that can still go wrong. So I think whatever damage Trudeau can do to Jagmeet Singh will be very, very welcomed by the Liberals. And let's not forget, as we just got through saying, Aaron O'Toole is going to be on the defense on the next two nights, in French and in English. And don't be surprised given, as I say, we had a couple of, mass murders in this province, in Montreal and in Quebec City committed with these weapons. Don't be surprised if Trudeau really, really goes after O'Toole in French, when he has the chance on the issue of firearms.
Yeah, and speaking of going on the offensive, I imagine Erin O'Toole going on the offensive against Trudeau because the international border is reopening tomorrow.
Oh man, that's as far as I'm concerned, that's a bomb waiting to go off. That is, right now we're saying, well, and I'll be the first to admit, I was among the people who said, you open up the border to the U.S., you're asking for problems. We are claiming from the federal government that in random tests there has been a positivity rate of less than much less than 1% in the number of people who are coming across the border. That said, we're talking about as many jurisdictions, I guess, as there are on Earth. We're talking about documents that are put together in foreign languages, documents that in many cases I think a lot of border personnel simply won't be familiar with. I have a bad feeling about this. On the other hand, it's September. The Delta variant is going full force, whether it's in North America or in Europe. I'm not sure we're going to be inundated with travelers from overseas for any reason whatsoever, but don't be surprised if there's any kind of a leak out of the border establishment saying, listen, we're catching all these people, whatever. It's going to be another crack in the foundation of Trudeau's campaign. This, as I said from the get-go, you and I can talk about all these various issues. The bottom line, this is a referendum on the pandemic, full stop. I don't care what the columnists, the pundits, or the polls are saying. This is going to be that assessment, and if you screw that up, if all of a sudden your adversaries are able to run with a ball covered with COVID vaccines, so to speak, you're in big trouble.
By the way, it might be worth playing this now, Brian, if you haven't have it handy. So earlier today, we know those crowds, those mobs, call them whatever you will. They've still been following Justin Trudeau around from stop to stop. The question was asked of him today. First of all, what do you think of this? And second of all, how do you protect your own people? Because remember, these anti-vaxxers, these protesters are out there. They don't care. No mask, no anything else. I don't think I've heard Justin Trudeau get as upset as he did in answering the question. Listen to this.
There is a small fringe element in this country that is angry, that doesn't believe in science, that is lashing out with racist, misogynistic attacks. But Canadians, the vast majority of Canadians, are not represented by them. And I know will not allow those voices, those protesters I don't even want to call them protesters, those anti-vaxxer mobs to dictate how this country gets through this pandemic. They don't get to dictate policy of this government.
Okay.
Say what you will, he does passion well.
He does. He absolutely does.
Go ahead. One thing he did leave out, though, was that these mobs have this incredible ability, and this has been pointed out by at least two reporters covering the campaign. They have the incredible ability to show up in ridings where it was a very, very close race in the last election with the Conservatives.
Are you suggesting they're being put up to this by somebody?
I'm just repeating what I saw expressed by two reporters. Is it a coincidence? You're talking to a guy who's said many cases, and I don't believe in coincidence, but it is kind of interesting.
James Manny, Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Adam.
Let's go to traffic, CJAD 800 Traffic Center, see what we got going on for you. Jill Fitzgerald is there right now with a check. Jill?
Traffic has improved on the TCAN eastbound at the end of the Île-aux-Tourtes Bridge. Still seeing speed reductions between Morgan and St. Charles. Elsewhere in Montreal, everything is looking good. On the South Shore, another incident on the 10 westbound in between Autoroutes 30 and 35. Very busy through that stretch, creating a bit of curiosity on the eastbound side as well. Traffic in Laval is working well. Laurentian Autoroute southbound, there is volume south of Saint-Sever. Most of the heavy volume currently is at Autoroute 50. The BMW Invitational Sales event is on now through September 30th. Enjoy rate reductions up to 1% or credits up to $5,000 on select new in-stock BMW models. Let us know what you see on the roads. Call in your tips to Star 800. Next report, 4:30.
All right, thanks very much. Now, just again to update you, there is still a severe thunderstorm watch in effect, and it could happen early this evening, even though it's looking pretty nice outside. So just keep that in mind if you are heading out. All right, let's get to our question of the day. Talked about this with a gentleman earlier on, Russ Anber, been in boxing for 40 years, and it concerns, sadly, the tragic death over the weekend of an 18-year-old female boxer from Mexico who died in Montreal when she collapsed during a match here last week. She was only, as I said, 18 years old. Yes, she was here willingly, and she might have realized she was overmatched against an older and much more experienced fighter, but she was here because she was going to make $1,800. That was her payday, and she needed the money. Now she's dead. Her name was Jeanette Zacharia Zapata. So once again, after a death by boxing, the question is being asked, should we ban boxing? It's a fair question to ask after watching a young woman die, isn't it? But the bigger question is perhaps, why does a civilized society, we are one, right, condone gratuitous violence to begin with? And what is our apparent insatiable thirst for blood sport, where you go to an event not just expecting, but hoping to see someone get pummeled and bloodied? What does that say about us? Evolved in so many ways, but not when it comes to the apparent need to prove you can beat the crap out of somebody. Is it because by not doing this, by not fighting, we'll be perceived as weak? Or because we all have frustrations and somehow getting them out on someone else makes us feel better about ourselves? Look, man has been settling conflicts with violence since the beginning of time. But we also used to live in caves and eat tree bark, and we don't do that anymore either. Unless, of course, it's for a reality TV show. So why do combative sports persist? And why do people clamor to them as fans? You know, it's estimated that more than 500 boxers have died since boxing became a sport over 100 years ago, not to mention perhaps at least as many who have sustained serious body or brain injuries during that time, but didn't die. They just live with their conditions for the rest of their lives. So my question to you today is simply this. What do you think? Is it time to ban boxing or not? 790-0800. Your text at 514-800. You're next.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. Brought to you by Dormez-vous. Mix and match at Dormez-vous is back. So whatever your sleep style, our sleep experts will match you to the sleep essentials you need. We're fully stocked and ready for quick delivery.
Hey everyone, now that it's August, it's time to shift summer fun into overdrive, and the Hyundai Factory Authorized Clear Out event is the perfect way to do just that. Get 0% lease or finance rates on select models that'll help you squeeze every last drop out of summer. Take a road trip, visit family, go hiking. Our entire lineup has all the features you want, so every second on the road will be a blast. But hurry, once our 2021 models are gone, they're gone for good. Conditions apply. Visit HyundaiCanada.com or your dealer for details.
Call the home electricians. Electrica, the company you trust.
Hi, John McElligott for Team Electrica. Passion, caring, professional, educated electricians, quality products, extended warranties, and your peace of mind. Call Electrica today, 514-768-7778.
Residential electrical. Electrica.
That's Electrica with a K.ca.
Joe Fresh has everything you need to check off your back-to-school shopping list. Tees, sweaters, jackets, jeans, running shoes, activewear, and more. Plus, you'll save 25% on regular price children's apparel in stores and on joefresh.com until September 6th.
Introducing a new beast from Subaru, the all-new 2022 Outback Wilderness, the most capable Subaru ever unleashed. Contact your Subaru dealer for more details. Set it free.
Alpine Credits.
You're the approved guy, right?
Sure am. Own your home. You're approved.
Hang on, I got another call. Ugh, it's the credit card people.
No worries,
Sorry, hang on. It's the other card.
Got it.
Yeah, so I'm looking... Hang on, my mom's calling.
Aww.
I also owe her money.
Alpine Credits, where homeowners get approved.
To consolidate your debts into one simple payment, don't go messing with mom's love.
Alpine Credits.
Some conditions apply.
Hi, Dom here for Res AV. In the past, people had to travel for business meetings to keep their companies going and growing. Well, not anymore. Let Res AV show you how to set up cost-efficient and easy-to-use automated video conferencing solutions. Whether it's for a big boardroom, a small collab, or office space, Res AV has the expertise to help your company and save you money. For more information and a free evaluation, call us 514-439-3901. We're Res AV. And best of all, we come to you.
Renavco is celebrating 20 years in business. Thanks to your trust and their expertise, they are Montreal's leader in home renovation and restoration and have been for 20 years. Renavco.com.
Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Boxing, you accept the risk of what's going to happen. I know it's not a perfect world, and I know that we can't do that. And it's very easy for people to say, this has no place. Well, for these people, it does. And boxing has been, part of what we have in boxing now is the evolution of taking it from underground with no protection, as you mentioned earlier, the bare knuckle fights, underground boxing, non-regulated, no checking, no medical, nothing, to bring it to where we are now.
That's Russ Anber. We spoke earlier this afternoon. He's been affiliated in one way or another with the sport of boxing for more than 40 years. And I asked him after the death of this 18-year-old Mexican girl in Montreal last week, a boxer who should not have been in that ring from what we're finding out now. She was overmatched, didn't belong in there. Do we ban boxing? He's heard this before, right? Other people have died. If you're in Montreal, you may remember Cleveland Denny. You may remember others who have been in rings, have suffered brain injuries, were not able to come back, live with that for the rest of their lives. So it's not the first time the question has come up. He doesn't believe it should. I'm asking you, and I tell you what, from the text boards, wow. A lot of people feel exactly the opposite, that it should absolutely be banned. I'm asking you, should boxing be banned or not? 790-0800-514-800 for your text. This text that says, boxing is an activity where psychotic bloodlust is embraced, paid for, and encouraged. It's disgusting, and it should be banned. And a lot of the texts I'm seeing basically say the same thing. The fact that the goal of boxing, over a boxing match, is to defeat your opponent by repeatedly hitting them in the head and results in brain damage makes me think, this and why? What's it used for? I'm not sure I understand that. It says, I saw the importance of this. This says, I think boxing is a disgusting, inhumane activity which doesn't even deserve to be called a sport and should be outlawed. That's from Margaret. What do you think? Boxing, death of an 18-year-old Mexican girl just a week ago. She collapsed in the ring, placed into an induced coma, and sadly died. A lot of people saying, why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep doing this? Why are we not banning this? Let me hear what you have to say. Tom's on the line. Tom, go ahead. What's your take on this?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I just want to tell you that, no, I mean, forget it. I sympathize really with the family, their daughter. I think there's been negligence on multi sides. Maybe the parents, the manager, she had previous problem. She had a knockdown before that. So, I mean, are we going to start doing with hockey too? And there's been a lot of fights. There weren't that many. There were deaths, yes, unfortunately. But I mean, we're not going to stop. The hockey. Look at the
Tom,
hockey.
let me just say one thing, because I knew this would come up, right? And the idea of hockey, because there's fighting, and in football perhaps a bit too. But the idea of the hockey game is not to go out there and beat the crap out of your opponent. It's to win the game and score the most goals. That's obviously not the same as boxing, where you're out there basically to kill. When I say kill, I mean to beat the person you're fighting. That's the only reason you're there. So I'm not sure that's necessarily a fair comparison. I understand about injuries. Yeah, a guy hits you, and you may have heard Russ Amber say that. You get hit with an elbow from a guy skating, at center ice, skating however fast he is, and that's a problem. But they're not. I think that's a false equivalency is what I'm saying. But I thank you for the call. Again, some of your texts. This one says, dog fights, cockfights, and other cruelty to animals is illegal. Therefore, boxing should be too. Humans should be given at least as much consideration as animals. That's from Margaret. So a lot of, from what I'm seeing here, a lot of this saying the same thing. Those who sign up to compete in a boxing match know the personal health risks. If you want to participate in a sport that could easily and seriously harm you, that's your choice. It's not society's choice. So which side are you on in this? You get in the ring, you know what the risks are, you're in there, no one's made you go in the ring. But we know people die, we know people get injured, so are we now at a stage in our society where we look at something like this and go, why are we doing this? Should we ban boxing or not? And I want you to hear one more clip here from Russ Anber, right? Take a listen to this. And again, I brought up the question as someone who's been involved in the sport. You might have expected this. Listen to this, Brian.
Banning it is certainly not the answer. What I think we need is to make sure that the opponents that we bring from outside who don't necessarily have the same regulations that first world countries would have, like whether it be the UK or the USA or Canada, where we have stricter regulations regarding our amateurs turning professional. That's the most important thing that we have to address.
What do you think? 790-0800. Brian, we'll get to you just before we get to news. What's your take on this? Ban it or not?
I'm sitting on the fence. I used to box many years ago, and there's two adults getting in, consenting to. They know the dangers. We know the dangers involved in that, Aaron. Going in, just like look at football. Football, 5 people are jumping on one person. At least boxing, it's 1-on-1. The weight is the identical. Yes, it's a violent sport. What do we do with UFC? Isn't that the worst? There's elbows being thrown. It makes boxing look like ping pong as far as I'm concerned. I would never want to get into a ring where somebody's kicking me, then give me elbows when I'm down. And
yeah, but you can't have it both ways, Brian. You said off the top, you know what? You both know what you're getting in for. So that's kind of a way of saying, no, we shouldn't ban it. But then you're saying, well, at mixed media, at MMA, for example, it's the same deal. It's two guys getting into the ring. They both know what the risks are. How can you ban one without banning the other?
Yeah, no. I don't want to ban one without the other. This is exactly what I'm saying. I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear. If we're going to ban boxing, then we have to ban UFC, and I think we should ban football before UFC. When there's 5 individuals and they're weighing 250 pounds more than that, jumping on one person. There was a movie about concussion.
Yeah.
Name was Concussion, all about that. So,
no, I see get your point. I thank you for the call. What do you think? Going to take your calls after news. Do we consider banning boxing? And is he right? If we ban boxing, is MMA next? And as someone has texted in suggesting, and then what? Wrestling, judo tournaments? What do you think? 790-0800. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. It's 4:30. I'm Nicole Pirano with a CTV News update. Here's what's making news right now. Anti-vaccine protesters once again dogged Justin Trudeau's campaign speech today. A few dozen people gathered outside the Ontario facility where the Liberal leader spoke inside. They expressed anger over COVID-19 vaccines and pandemic measures. A 36-year-old man who became the subject of a province-wide manhunt after his 3-year-old son went missing is now facing a weapons-related charge in the case. The pair were found on Saturday not far from where they were last seen in St. Paul. Police arrested the suspect yesterday. And of the 530 people who tested positive for COVID-19 in the province, 419 of them are not vaccinated or received a first dose less than 2 weeks ago. Health Minister Christian Dubé says that we're seeing a rise in ICU admissions with an increase of 8 since yesterday, now totaling 64. With the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Jill Fitzgerald.
Traffic has improved on the T-Can eastbound through the work zone on the West Island. Elsewhere in Montreal, traffic is looking good. No issues on the Laurentian autoroute in Laval. There is volume, though, on 15 southbound from Saint-Sever down to Prévost and at autoroute 50. On the South Shore, the spans are looking good, but there is a lot of heavy volume on the 10 westbound after autoroute 35. To fully enjoy your last barbecues, take advantage of the Mediterranean Freshness Sale at Marché Adonis until September 8th. Beef kafta or merguez skewers are 4 for $10. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Next report, 4:45.
Your Dormiville Weather Center forecast. A few showers tonight and a risk of a thunderstorm ending early this evening, then partly cloudy, winds gusting to 40 kilometers an hour and a low of 14. Tomorrow, mainly sunny with a high of 23, the humidex 25, and a chance of showers for Wednesday with a high of 25. It's 18 downtown. Your next CTV News update is at 5 o'clock.
Gwen Nackos here on behalf of Cedars Can Support. The 16th annual FL Fuller Landau Cedars Can Support Dragon Boat Race takes place on Sunday, September 12th at the Lachine Waterfront. Help our cancer patients by fundraising, donating, or joining a team. We're raising much-needed funds for Cedars Can Support, which provides vital support to cancer patients and their families at the MUHC. To find out more and to get involved, go to cedarsdragons.ca.
When it comes to climate change, many prominent voices have declared that the science is settled. In reality, it is not. Join Steve Koonin and the National Post September 28th to discuss Unsettled, what climate science tells us, what it doesn't, and why it matters. Ticketmaster.ca.
Joe Fresh has everything you need to check off your back-to-school shopping list. Tees, sweaters, jackets, jeans, running shoes, activewear, and more. Plus, you'll save 25% on regular price children's apparel in stores and on joefresh.com until September 6th.
Life is better framed.
Hi, we're Matt and Tanya, owners of La Frame Shop.
And today we want to talk to you about memories.
Yeah, like, remember that place? There was that guy.
Not really.
Yeah, you were so like, wait, there it is in the picture.
You mean our wedding?
Gallery walls help you tell your story even if you can't.
At La Frame Shop, we help you frame the stuff you love and love the stuff you frame.
Like a gallery wall of framed memories designed to suit your home and tell your story.
Book an appointment at La Frame Shop and find out why we say life is better framed.
Hey, Nissan, the white Versa next to you, can I try it?
Darn, I just sold it.
Great then.
Also sold. The two Leafs next to it, sold too.
What about the red Sentra?
The redesigned Sentra that leases from the equivalent of $49 a week for just 24 months at a 0% rate?
Yes.
With Apple CarPlay and blind spot warning system?
Yes.
Sold. Nah, just kidding.
Phew.
During the All-In Clear Out event, cars sell fast, so hurry to your dealership. Until September 30th, $208 a month, $995 initial cash on approved credit. Retail value of $22,683. Details at Nissan.
The federal election is on Monday, September 20th, and keeping you healthy when you go to vote is our priority. At your polling station, there will be hand sanitizer stations and clear physical distancing markers, and the poll worker will be behind a plexiglass barrier. Don't forget to wear a mask, and you can bring your own pen or pencil to mark your ballot.
For the official information on voting and our health and safety measures, visit elections.ca or call 1-800-463-6868. It's our vote.
If you need a new mattress, there's no better place and no better time than now during MedLab Unearth's end of summer mattress sale with savings of up to $700 on all Beauty Rest and Z-Bed mattresses. Visit medlabunearth.ca for details.
Indulge yourself in the new Guilty Pleasure on CTV.
Whether they like it or not, I belong here.
The provocative new series, Our Kind of People.
I'm one of them.
Starts Tuesday, September 21st, only on CTV.
You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Well, it might not have a place in your society, but in massive parts of all over the world, it's of massive importance to people. It's people make their living doing this, and they understand the risks going in, and they train and they work hard.
Russ Anber, we talked to him earlier this afternoon, asking just this question after the death, sadly, tragically, of an 18-year-old Mexican girl who had come here to fight for her $1,800 payday. And he pointed out, by the way, and again, we're not going to get into the sort of legalities or not of this. In Mexico, you can turn pro at the age of 15 as a boxer. So obviously the rules in different countries make it easier or more difficult for you to turn pro. Here it's not the same, but regardless, this woman paid with her life. And the question comes up then, forget where you assess blame. Should we consider banning boxing? And I said, if you look back in the history of mankind, it's been going on since the beginning of time. We understand that. But so have a lot of things that don't go on anymore. Why do we still condone this? No one said, well, it's about business. Look at the money it brings in. Millions and millions. How much did Floyd Mayweather get, Brian, for his fight, right? After coming out, we're talking, how many millions did he get? Do you remember?
A lot.
I mean, a pay date to step in the ring. Yes, it's dangerous. And people say, well, you know what you're what you're in for. So there's Russ Anber making the point that of exactly that. Yeah, look, we can't tell people you can or can't do this. It's legal to do. The question is, should we ban it given the fact that, I don't know, between injuries and deaths from the boxing ring, maybe it's time we look at that and say, okay, it's enough. And I'm seeing your texts here, and I'm not getting a lot necessarily saying, no, it's probably good, let's keep it here. Like this, for example. I don't understand how boxing, mixed arts, etc. are considered sports. I don't understand how pummeling another person is enjoyable to watch. That's from Diane. Well, obviously there are people out there who do think it's enjoyable to watch, or there wouldn't be boxing because no one would be showing up at boxing matches or at MMA fights. Another one that says, I'd like to think we've evolved as a society, and therefore continuing to have boxing as a sport goes against all that we know. It's not logical, and therefore we should be done with it. That's from Alessandro. So I'm asking you what you think, because for now, the question, as I said, it's going to come up every time someone gets hurt. You know that's going to happen, or someone dies in this case. But we're still doing this. And if we're still doing it and it's not going to be banned, should we at least make sure, even in the professional level, that we give people headgear, heavier gloves, so if you do get hurt, you're not necessarily going to die or suffer a brain injury that's going to affect you for the rest of your life? Alex is on the line, 790-0800. Alex, what do you think?
I have to say, Aaron, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we've been fighting as gladiators way before the turn of the century, first of all. And there are so many sports that involve either one person or two people being either in a ring or in a dangerous situation, like race car driving or skiing downhill, where people have died and got even as far as decapitated in a race car. So what, are we going to ban every sport because maybe there's a risk that you might die? I mean, we're all going to die anyways.
So your opinion then is no, we keep boxing, because if you know the risk going in as a fighter, that's fine. It's your decision ultimately, and that's it.
Not just that. I mean, if you're born as a fighter, then you're a fighter. That's what God put you on earth for.
How are you born? I mean, I'm just curious. How are you born as a fighter? Doesn't someone teach you to fight, or you acquire that as a skill?
No, I think
Who's born a fighter?
Some people are born with higher skills than others. Not everybody can fight. Not everybody can paint. Not everybody could build a house. I mean, we're all born with a set of skills. Some people are tremendous athletes. They can get in a boxing ring and fight 15, 20 rounds and walk out unscathed. I don't think I'd be able to do that, but there are incredible athletes out there that can do that. And banning a sport because people are offended by it is like taking away human rights. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Look, I completely understand what you're saying, although to be fair, and I think some people's ears are burning as you said that, it's not a matter of being offended by it. There's two people in there who are basically trying to kill each other, right? And for a lot of people, that's a terrible thing. As one texter, and I'm not going to use this as an analogy, but I am, we don't let cockfights or dogfights happen anymore because it's inhumane. Yet we let people go in there because they know the risk, and that's perfectly okay. So a lot of people don't get how one works, but the other doesn't.
But Aaron, you're saying that two people get in the ring and they want to kill each other. That's really not the purpose of it. The purpose is for two people to get in the ring and for one person to walk away victorious, not to kill the other person.
Okay,
Most of these guys, after they're finished the fight, they go out, they have a drink, and they bond together. These are all tremendous athletes. These guys aren't in there to kill each other.
Okay, I use kill in the colloquial sense. You're right. I don't mean to kill. I mean basically to pound each other. The idea is you hit the other guy more than he hits you, you end up winning, right?
Yeah, but you watch hockey and guys get in there and they pummel each other.
Yeah, but that's not the objective of hockey. And I said this before to another caller. The objective of hockey is to play the sport and win by putting more goals in the net. The violence is sort of tangential to that. In boxing, that's your only objective. You get in the ring, you hit the other guy harder and more often than he hits you, you're a winner. They're not the same. But Alex, I thank you for the call. Okay, let me get this. This one says, I don't buy the argument that boxing is acceptable just because people know what they're getting into. We don't allow people to decide to commit suicide, so why are they allowed to decide to be severely pummeled and possibly killed? Okay? A lot of very different takes on this. But again, I think if I'm going to be fair, there are more people weighing in suggesting this is terrible than, like Alex did, suggesting it's fine because two people make the decision, and he's right, that they both want to get into the ring. They know the risks when they get in. No one goes into a ring thinking, well, I don't know what could possibly happen. Maybe I'll be hurt, maybe I won't. As good a fighter as you are, you know you're going to get hurt. You know you're going to get hit. That's the decision you make going in. I just think in the case of this 18-year-old Mexican girl who died here as a result of that, there's so many other extenuating circumstances. Yes, she knew what she was doing. Did she know who she was fighting against? Did she know she was fighting a woman with much more experience, older than she was? Better condition, no, probably not. So who's that on? That's on her people. Those people who decided she should come in here and fight someone who they know she didn't have a chance of beating. So there's a lot more to that particular story than just simply saying should it ban it or not, or should it be banned or not. But I'm just saying as a general principle, MMA, where did MMA come out of? We didn't have, mixed martial arts wasn't a thing. It was, judo, karate, that kind of a thing. Then the next thing you know, we have MMA where people go there, and that's pure blood sport too. right? You're in there trying to you do anything. It's not just a matter of punching someone. You kick them, whatever you happen to do. The idea is to get them out and knock them out and win the fight. And people pay money to see that. If people didn't pay money to see it, it wouldn't exist because it would not survive as a business. We'd have stuff like Fight Club. People would be doing this in their basements and we'd never hear about it until it became a movie, and that would be the end of it. But because so many people pay so much money to see it, it's become a sport. And people who aren't part of that sport look at it and go, what are we doing here? We're letting people basically pummel each other? How does that make sense? I'll take one last call on this. Ron, tell me what you think about this.
I believe they should use a face mask like they use in karate. It's like foam around the
so like,
chin.
like headgear, in a sense.
Hello?
Like headgear.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. They do that at the amateur level, right? They still do that at the Olympics. But once you get to the pros, that's off the table. And I will point out one other thing, and I didn't know this. When we talked boxing with Russ Amber, who's been around, he said most of these injuries, right, are not in the amateur ranks. They're typically among professionals. So think of people like Cleveland Denny and Adonis Stevenson. People who've risen to a certain rank to be among the world's best. They're the ones who typically get hurt the most. That's where the deaths have been as well. Not among people on their way up. But on the way up, people are protected. Gloves are heavier, so you don't feel the punches as much. They wear headgear. Maybe that is the move to make going forward. At least these people get into the ring, give them the protection. And if you want to use that hockey or football analogy, we don't send football players out there with no equipment on and say, good luck, I hope for the best. No. We pat them up. We give them helmets. Yes, it's a violent sport, but at least we afford them some kind of protection. In boxing, nothing. Nothing. Maybe that's what has to change. I thank you for your calls. I appreciate your texts on this as well. Let's take our break for traffic, see what's going on. CJAD 800 Traffic Center, Jill Fitzgerald. Jill?
Aaron, volume has redeveloped on the TCAN eastbound on the West Island. There is an incident about halfway between Morgan and St. Charles, causing curiosity and some delays as well on the westbound side. Elsewhere in Montreal, traffic is looking good. Laurentian Autoroute is working well in Laval. Most of the volume at this point is after Autoroute 50. On the South Shore, the 10 westbound has improved after the 35. The BMW Invitational Sales Event is on now through September 30th. Enjoy rate reductions up to 1% or credits up to $5,000 on select new in-stock BMW models. Let us know what you see on the roads. Call in your tips to Star 800. Next report, 5 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Jill. Just a quick reminder to you, CJAD 800 is presenting Montreal Explored. In this edition, it's for the love of bees. Nicole Proyana will talk to Montreal beekeepers, which is becoming a bigger and bigger thing. And if you want to know more, you can click on the audio tab online at CJAD800.com for more information there. All right, let me move on to the news quiz, because we do have a news quiz today, despite the fact it is Labor Day. That's right, I've labored to come up with today's news quiz for Empire Gold. So here's the deal. We started off with a toss-up question, and then if you get that right and you're the first one through with that answer, you move on to play the quiz itself. That's 9 questions in 60 seconds. Get all those right, you win $1,000. So good luck. Here's your toss-up question for today. Which political party is proposing free dental care as part of its platform? Which political party is proposing free dental care as part of its platform? Is it the Liberals, the Conservatives, or the NDP, or the Bloc, or the Rhinos? 790-0800 if you know the answer. To play the Empire Gold News Quiz next.
As the federal leaders take to the ring, you want Tom Mulcair in your corner. He knows what they know and what you need to know to make an informed choice. Brought to you by Guaranteed Industries. Don't sweat it. Call the pros at Guaranteed Industries for your commercial, industrial, or residential needs. Keeping Montrealers cool since 1957. 514-342-3400. Tom Mulcair, 735 with Andrew and 505 with Aaron and Natasha on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Only a few days left for the Rendezvous Air France, because the first rendezvous is always a magical moment to listen to. Whoa. It's time to book your rendezvous with Paris, starting at $759 or Venice starting at $890 return. From Montreal, tax included. And with Air France Protect, our tickets are 100% changeable or refundable up until the day you fly. Travel from the 16th of October 2021 to 6th of May 2022. Some blackout dates apply. See conditions at airfrance.ca.
When you get an online quote and switch to Bel Air Direct, you could save up to $500 on your car and home insurance, which means you can live a little larger and finally get that vanity plate you've always wanted. Something like number 1 dad. If it's already taken, number 2 dad, or even number 5 dad, whatever's still available. At least you still crack the top 10.